We're going to change that at the top up there. And there we go. Apologies. I don't have all the information, bro, on that. On the guy or girl, whoever it was, who jumped out of the window, who broke out of the Talbert house. That's crazy. Have you heard anything about that yet?
Yeah, I did. It's definitely a guy, and he was old school. Like he used bed sheets tied together. I ain't seen that in forever. Forever.
Bed sheets.
Yeah, and I get wanting to be out. You know what I'm saying? But they gonna catch you. Like, where you gonna go?
Right.
Where you gonna go? What's the plan?
And you got on them state issue shoes. So it's not like, I mean, you ain't going nowhere, bro.
And the other dude that broke out, they say he still got on leg shackles. How'd you break out wearing leg shackles? Where you going?
Oh man, this is I don't know, brother. All right, I'm just sending out to a few people. They know that we're getting started. Yeah, that's crazy.
Few of the people, I like them to come in and say what's up, Nikki and Robert and Scott and Anthony.
Trying to get some of the technical things on my side, so I apologize to everyone. Just trying to get the heading right.
I see Benita and David, Angela
Kenny, shout out.
KL.
Let's see here. All right. To a page. I'm gonna send it over to my
Brenda.
Here.
What's up, Brenda? Got Nicole, Joshua. Josh. Hey, that's my nephew. What's up, Josh?
He trying to be funny, y'all. He trying to shout all y'all out. He know I'm busy and shit over here. I got people I got to shout out too. He's just trying to be funny. Like, I don't care about my folks.
Hey, this is how I get down, man. When the people come in,
yeah,
you have to say hi to everybody. If you tuning in, just shout us out. Just good afternoon. Hey, what's up, y'all? Throw up deuces, whatever. Veronica.
All right, E, I got it. So they had bread sheets, I mean?
Yeah, they showed it on the news. One of the newscasts that I watched, like the broken window and the bed sheets tied together all the way down to the ground.
You want to take a bet? Dude had to be 50 plus years old. That is old school as hell.
That is old school. Like,
that's breaking out of Mayberry.
Yeah, that's some
Barney and them.
He saw that on a movie.
Good show. What's good, man? How was your weekend, brother?
Man, the weekend been good so far. I didn't do a whole lot on Saturday. Sunday went to a barbecue at my mother-in-law's. Enjoyed some food. She live out, I say, in the country.
Okay.
She got like 6-7 acres or something like that. Ooh. And so, she's
farm.
Huh?
Farmland, country type.
It's more wooded. But the house is in out there in the middle, and it's a little clear. So she got like a swimming pool and some stuff for the kids, and basketball court and all that kind of stuff. But then it's just wooded land around it. So we was out there, just having fun. Shot off some fireworks. I didn't shoot off no fireworks because I like all my hands. I mean, all my fingers and stuff.
I had a bad experience as a child with the fireworks, bro. The M80s and all that type of shit. I don't really mess with fireworks anymore.
Really, I love fireworks. Like, I like them. I had a bad experience. Actually, if Josh is still here, he had a bad experience too with me. But yeah, we shot some fireworks, and you know the thing we were shooting them out of fell on its side, and so it was shooting at the kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Was
We used to have bottle rocket fights, bro. Did y'all do that as kids?
No, we didn't do that as kids.
Oh
we
yeah,
had a mishap, but y'all was reckless.
Yeah, yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, we would light the bottle rocket from the stick, holding the stick, and then when it got low to the stem, you try to let it go so it'd go chase somebody. It didn't always work out, but we we did it occasionally, man. We had nothing else to do. We didn't have anything else to do. So
But
I
other
need to
than
know
that,
some details. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was about to say, other than that, today I'm gonna start breaking down that moped. I'm taking it completely apart. And
I was trying to stay away from your moped, bro. Why you bring that up?
Then and when I say break it down, I mean, because I'm gonna paint it. So I gotta take everything apart. I gotta take off the brakes, gotta take off the light, gotta take off the engine, gotta take off the wheels, the whole everything. I gotta completely take it apart. Yeah, the pedals. So I'm gonna start that process today.
Little baby still think it's a motorcycle, huh?
She still call it a motorcycle. See, when I say moped, she don't know what I'm talking about. So I have to say motorcycle in order for her to understand we talking about the moped in the garage.
I just think you misled her. I really do. I think you misled her. I think she's a smart, bright little girl who could know the difference between a moped and a motorcycle. You just wanted to feel a certain kind of way with that damn moped. I just think you was making it a bigger situation than it really was. That's just my opinion, but you know me. Huh?
Hey, you got to right to your opinion. You got to right.
This granddaddy's motorcycle, baby. Watch, listen to this.
It don't start. Yeah. It don't start. I put the fuel tank on, connected everything up. It won't turn over. So I got some work to do. But
I'm sure you'll get it right.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's this summer. You plan on having it done this year?
Oh yeah, it'll definitely be done this year.
Okay, because I can see it being complete come October, November, and I don't think you're gonna be out there on a moped around November. If so, you might as well just save your time now and start on it at the end of the winter, so it'll be ready for the summer.
I'm gonna start on it today, and I'm going out of town. Which, by the way, to remind everybody who watches the afternoon experiment, I will be out of town. So I'll do a show tomorrow. I'll do a show Wednesday. But then Thursday and Friday, I'm out. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, I'm out. So
what?
I won't be doing a show.
All week?
All week.
You're going out of town. Okay.
Going out
I guess we all entitled to roll. I roll out a lot. But
yeah,
okay. I heard him. Part-time is taking off some more time. Emmanuel, the King Livingston, is taking off some more. Y'all imagine that.
Look, if I had a house in every state in the union, then you wouldn't, I'd have my little studio at my Arizona house, and my little studio in my Florida house, and my little studio in my Ohio house, and all that kind of stuff. But I ain't got it like that.
Yeah. I feel you. I mean, it's just an hour a day. That's all you got to give your people. You can do it from your cell phone. An hour a day. It ain't where it's where you at.
Again, I'm cell phone challenged, and that front camera on my cell phone, you won't see nothing. It's terrible.
Okay, so you don't have. Please don't say you still rocking the flip phone. You're not rocking a flip phone.
Hold on, I got my little. I got my little iPhone 6. This all cracked up in the camera. See?
Yeah. Hey, bro, what the hell is that on your screensaver, bro? Is that you?
No,
I couldn't see it. It came in blurred, but
that's because it's blurred. That's Mrs. Livingston.
Oh, okay. It was really blurred on the screen. I'm like, is it cracked up? Like, is it broke off?
Yeah. See the break in it.
You don't have a screen protector?
No.
Oh, okay. You might want to invest in one of those on your next. When you go get your iPhone, we on 13 now. When you go get your iPhone 9, when you get your iPhone 9, you might want to get a screen protector on that one. That one
Cheater.
looked like the 7 right there that you just put up on the
That's
screen.
what it is. That's what it
Is
is.
it?
It's either the 6 or the 7.
Bruh.
I'm gonna get a new phone. I'm gonna get a new phone sometime
This
within the
time,
next 2 months.
do you know what happened? What happens when you see on the screen when it says update? You know you need about 7. You need about 12 updates.
No, it
I don't think you
updates.
can get. Huh?
Yeah. They still supporting this one so far.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know. I'm just saying. Like I was part of the when I was with Sprint. I was with Sprint for years, bro. I was with Sprint for over 10 years. It was like 14 years when I left
Yeah,
Sprint.
so was I. I had to leave Sprint.
Yeah, I had to leave them too, bro. And they had this situation where it was a iPhone Forever plan. Yeah, I mean, it was an iPhone Forever. So every time a new one came out, you just gave them the old one and you got a new one. So I was trying to keep up. I don't see me, quite honestly, I don't have to have the latest and the greatest because they all do the same thing. But after a 10-year difference, bro, the technology is way different. So, I mean, you're left behind 2 or 3 years in cell phones when you don't upgrade them. I mean, there's a lot. They got these things called HD cameras now that take really good pictures. I actually started Wyatt-Live on my cell phone 2.5 years ago using the HD version of the camera. It was pretty cool.
Well, hey, did you know? Speaking of phones, and this is just a little something that maybe here in America or in North America that maybe we should start pushing for. I believe the European Union, but I'm not exactly sure which governing body it was, sued or changed the rules for the iPhone and Samsung manufacturers. What they did was they said, because you know how if you got a Android first, I'll take my iPhone 6 over Android anything, any day of the week. But if you got an Android, y'all use that USB-C connector to charge and all that kind of stuff. Of course, Apple uses the Lightning connector, and chances are that'll change in a few years. They keep changing them to have these proprietary connections so that you got to keep spending money. Well, what they did was they passed a law that by I think it's the end of 2023, but it might be 2025. Either way, they all have to use the same connector. Any phone manufacturer who sells phones in the European Union, they have to all have a standard connect, and that ain't just phones. It's like virtually every device, like those little Bluetooth speakers, the charger, everything has to be the exact same, so they don't keep charging. You got this charger for that, and that charger for that, and that charger for that, and you walk around with 6 chargers for your device. So I like that.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, who's doing that? Who's leading the charge on that?
I think it was the European Union, even though it's been a minute since I've seen the story. I think I saw the story, a month or so ago. So I don't remember, but somewhere over in Europe. That's what they're, I mean, it's not they've already passed the law to say by this date, y'all all have to have the exact same connections.
That's interesting. I'm wondering how they can even get away with that. I mean, most of these things are manufactured. Some of these companies are corporate out of America, and some of these things, a lot of these things are manufactured in China. And I'm wondering how they had this universal power of being able to tell people what they can do with their brand or their product. I'm just curious how that happens.
They're saying, look, if you, because different countries, different areas regulate things differently. And so they're basically saying, if you want the right to sell your stuff here, it's got to have this connection, which I think they chose USB-C. I think that's what they went with. It's got to have a USB-C connection in order for you to sell it here. Now, if you don't want to do the USB-C, that's cool, but you just can't sell your iPhone over here.
Okay, you can't get a license to come into whatever area they're running. So that there it is right there. That makes sense. I think it's a good idea because I hate carrying several different chargers and all that old stuff. But I generally try to get the same product, like Apple, when it comes to iPhones and Apples and earplugs and all that stuff, all those things tend to run off the same charger. So that's never really been a problem for me. But I guess for some things like those speakers and stuff, I guess that's different. But I don't know, bro. I don't know. It's not a big deal to me. I think it's a good idea. Matter of fact, if they start doing it, I wonder if they're gonna enforce that in car manufacturers as well, because you had a USB ports in cars too, and you can plug in, charge your car directly with USB versus plugging it in the cigarette lighter like us old heads used to have to do with the adapter. You put the adapter in and try to, so that would be cool.
Yeah, they'll probably make them all. I mean, it makes sense that everybody, since they've chosen, I believe they chose USB-C. Again, I have to look it up again because it's a month ago, but just since you was trying to iPhone shame me, it made me think about it. And yeah, I had to look it up again.
I iPhone shame you, bro. I was trying to get you up to the updates. I mean, I wasn't trying to see. I seen somebody say, "Oh, Wyatt, he shed a shot. He hit a shot at email and his cell phone." No, he put the cell phone in the air, and I wanted to know, like, yeah, that's you could go on the road and you could take the show on the road. That's basically what I was trying to say. He said something about his phone wasn't really able to do all of that. That's where it came from. So I just wanted to elaborate on, if you upgrade your phone, you could be somewhere and go live and do what you need to do right then and there. That's all I was doing. I was telling him the truth. That's not shaming.
That's not true. That's not true. Anything you say is shaming now if the person don't like it. Like even when one caller had called in and said we spend our time slut shaming people, and of course I've always been of the mind slut should be ashamed of, but
slut shaming.
Huh?
Never heard of it. Shaming sluts?
Yeah, you can't do that, man. You can't do that. Sluts are people too. You can't shame the sluts. They gotta feel good about themselves. And if you try to shame them, that's a bad thing. Yeah, you didn't know that. You can't fat shame nobody.
Know that, bro. I guess I'm guilty too.
Yeah, no, man, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Sluts are people too.
They are people.
I got a new T-shirt for you, E. Slut matter. Slut lives matter. Slut lives matter.
You really never heard the term slut shaming?
Never.
Really?
Never,
Marquetta said it when she called in the other day.
Shout out to my sluts. I never heard it. I never heard it, bro. Let's take a poll. Has everybody heard slut shaming? I've never heard, bro. I don't really run in them circles. But
show of hands. Show of hands on the comments if you've ever heard slut shaming. Put a hand up if you've ever heard the term, and put a hand up if you've been guilty of it, but you've decided that you will not do it anymore.
Oh shit! No, I ain't never decided I ain't gonna do it. I ain't never. AP Anthony Preston said he got his thumbs up. He must be a slut shamer. Slut lives matter, bro.
He's just saying that he's heard of it. Yeah, we've heard. Yeah, and that's right. B-Rab says, yeah, they have a whole slut walk festival. I don't know where it is, but the one chick, what is her name? Who's the famous person who's kind of put out there as the person who kind of started it. What is her name? Is it Black China?
Black China. I heard of her.
Or no, the one that used to be with Kanye, with the blonde hair.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about. I don't
Amber
know her
Rose.
name.
Yeah, Amber Rose.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Since we're talking about sluts, I'm gonna put the parental advisory tag up in the corner because slut lives matter. And if it go to that type of conversation, we're gonna need the parental guide thing up there because
it's a mainstream thing now. Like it ain't even. It's mainstream. A young lady was testifying before Congress.
Come on, bro. Stop playing. You playing, right?
A few years ago, there was a young lady who was testifying before Congress, and I forget whatever the issue was, but she brought up a congressman trying to slut shame her.
Slut shame. Okay. I thought you was just playing with me. I really thought you were kidding, but okay.
I wouldn't do that.
Somebody said, Andrea Russell says, I've heard of it. Sabrina Calloway says never. Brenda Harris says never. I have more. I see some people who have said yes with thumbs up. I'm assuming that's what that means. But I've never heard of slut. What bashing or slut? What is it?
Slut shaming. Yeah.
Slut shaming. I never heard of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch my mouth. I'm gonna have to be careful what I say.
But it ain't just the sluts. It ain't just the sluts. It's fat people. You can't fat shame people.
Okay, I heard that.
Yeah,
body shaming.
You can't do any of that kind of stuff. You can still height shame people. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no real movement against height shaming. But you know, I work on that. But yeah, certain things you can't do now.
That's interesting. Hey, are you cooking anything today for the holiday? Isn't today a holiday? 4th of July. You cooking? Doing anything?
I'm not. I'm chilling. Again, had a barbecue, so I got some leftovers, some chicken breasts. That's really all I took was some chicken breasts.
Okay.
That's all I need. Anything else, I'll be straight. So no, I'm not cooking today.
Just doing the reheat. What is that? Cooking
Eating up them chicken breasts and eating them.
It up. I ain't mad at you, bro. Yeah, I gotta light the grill. I'll show you here shortly. Well, I'm not gonna walk out there right now, but
are you a gas or a charcoal dude?
I have both actually. So it all depends on how many people are coming over. I know that sounds crazy. What happened is I used to be a charcoal dude, right? But then, you know, for years, all my life, I only knew charcoal. And then my wife got me a gas grill for either Father's Day or something. I don't know, but a couple years ago. So what happened is I never got rid of the charcoal because, you know, we have like parties at the house sometimes with close family members. My kids have a lot of activities at the house, man. So I like to grill. I'm a griller. Okay. So sometimes I have to do both of them at the same time. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but they're not real big. It's not like I got this, this big grill so I can put ribs and everything on there at the same time. I actually like the charcoal better. It gives a better taste. The gas is a lot more convenient, less cleaning, better on maintenance.
Never used the gas grill ever in my life. I can't bring myself to use gas to grill.
Yeah, I was never with it.
Yeah, I'm charcoal and wood.
Yeah, I was never with it until it became a situation where it's so much easier to maintain, and then the taste is still there a little bit. You don't get that charcoal taste. You don't get that. However, they do have these little pieces of oak and things of that nature that you can put in the fire. Okay, and it gives it that taste. I don't really do all of that, but some people do it. It's just, the gas grills are just convenient to me. That's it. You wash them, you clean them, and you move on. I'm not a gas guy. I'm not a gas guy by nature. It's two things I don't deal with in my house that I always call if something go wrong. And gas is one of them, and electricity is the other. I don't play with gas or electric. I don't really fool with them because those are the things that'll blow you up out of here.
Okay. All right. But do you celebrate the 4th of July? Like, is it because there's always this discussion about the 4th of July. Are you a 4th of July? I mean, I'm looking at your hookup. You look like a 4th of July dude, straight red, white, and blue with an American flag on it, the whole nine. Do you celebrate the 4th of July, or is this just coincidence?
Nah, it ain't a coincidence. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I don't celebrate 4th of July. I celebrate 4th of July for the same meaning that I celebrate some other holidays. It's just been traditional. I have no thought process into it. You know what I mean? I've been celebrating the 4th of July since my great grandmother and them been putting Wiedemann beer on the ribs. So I didn't have any thought process in it then. I'm not a militant type of person who think we wasn't free and all that. I don't think I'm not quite that into the thought of it all. But I celebrate the 4th of July on the day off, just like I did any other holiday that I don't really put a lot of thought into. I don't know if that answers the question, but the red, white, and blue is not a coincidence. It's a day that I felt it's a red, white, and blue day. So because of the 4th of July. And this happens to be one of my fits from my collection of the Wyatt brand, the boxing and things of that nature. So I thought I'd put it on today. Plus it's cold as hell in here. So I put this on. I have a t-shirt on actually, and then it got really cold in here. And I'm like, let me put this on. It's 4th of July. What's up with you?
I'm kind of the same. I have a problem with some of these holidays, that issue, we wasn't free and all of that kind of stuff. So I have a little bit of an issue with it. But for the most part, when I'm out, like yesterday, we was out grilling, I wasn't thinking, God bless America. We're thank God that we're free today. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking, yeah, chicken breasts, potato salad, baked bean, hey,
Right.
I'm enjoying the company of the people that I'm around. And I was gonna say I don't have to go to work, but I don't have to go to work no days. So I was just enjoying the time out and the time with family, not thinking about America or anything like that. So I wasn't rocking no red, white, and blue. even though I understand it, you know what I'm saying? It's a tradition. It's a traditional thing. So I get that, but yeah, no, I don't. I celebrate it, I guess, just as a day off and the way that we've always done it. But I don't sit there feeling all patriotic. I like fireworks. I'm probably gonna roll out the Blue Ash or something like that tonight for their fireworks. Plus, they got Gavin McGraw out there. He's got a couple songs that I like, so I might even check out the concert. And yeah, but it ain't a patriotic thing to me.
Nah, I feel you. Somebody said to me, I'm gonna put it up on the screen. It said, tis tis, he's rocking the flag. He for the real, for real. Okay, so this is, you got to understand that I'm in amateur. I've done amateur boxing. This is a boxing outfit for Team USA. So our little kids fight in the amateurs, and they go to boxing tournaments, and they're representing the country. This happens to be one where it was the United States versus Ireland. So I'm rocking this because I'm a proud American when it came down to these kids representing our country and fighting in a tournament that was a worldwide tournament, and Ireland came to the country, and we fought Ireland. So yeah, you're right. I wouldn't see any other flag to be on this outfit right here other than when we were representing America, and it was, our little kids in there. So yeah, you're right. I do have the flag on. Probably got it on the front and the back. But
but that kind of makes sense. Like if when I'm in Cincinnati, I represent, if anything, Avondale. Avondale, that's where I was raised. That's where I live now. Avondale. You talk about high schools, I represent Aiken. I'd be proud of Aiken too. In the grand scheme of things, don't nobody care. If I'm out of somewhere, I'm representing Ohio. You know what I'm saying? I'd be in Arizona.
right.
I got some Cincinnati, some Ohio stuff that I'll be wearing. If I'm out of the country, I'm representing the United States of America because that's where I'm from. So I'm representing that. So that make a difference when it's, a competition or something like that, or even you just abroad. I'm America. I represent where I'm from. I represent, what raised me. So that makes sense.
No, that's what it is. I mean, I didn't go out of my way to create something, American or whatever. Not that I have a problem with it. I mean, I know we all say, it's a touchy subject in our community. It's a touchy, topic in our community. Why do we rep America? I mean, some of us could say America ain't shit. Some of us can say America has given me a lot of opportunity. Some of us can say that America has just been horrible for us. And then some people could say, I wouldn't go anywhere else. I mean, there's so many different, there's so many different takes and opinions. I guess it's based on me personally. I think it's based on what you've been through in life. Maybe not all the time, because I know some kids that grew up privileged and they go out and do some of that they do some of they totally against what happened and in the past, and they protested and they bring it up to now. And I understand that. And some of them have never even gone through the things that some people have gone through. My grandmother went through a lot. And one of the things that she taught me was what she'd been through. She didn't necessarily tell me to feel the way she felt. She didn't try to teach me how to fix it. She taught me how to be better than the situation. And what do you do to not be in those situations where you can be done like that? That's what it is. It's a touchy subject, bro. I don't even really like talking about it, because what happened is, I think that's one of the biggest divides in the country amongst us is how we view how we're treated. Some of us say keep on stepping, some of us say keep on fighting. And I think sometimes when you stepping, you can step right over your problem and leave that problem behind and fix it by bettering a situation for the up and coming people. That's just my take on it.
And I hear you, and I feel like it take all of that. I feel like it take keep on fighting, it take keep on stepping, it take all of that. Because some people, we need Wyatts, rich dudes,
we need Emmanuels
who know, what I'm saying, and I'm kind of being silly, but in all honesty, we need successful people who have worked within the system, who understand the system, and who have some standing in the system. And we need, I'm gonna throw out Iris, who, on the other side, fighting against the system to make the system come around. We need all of that and everything in between. So I try not to judge people in terms of their views on how they look at America and how they function within America, because I understand that it takes all of it for us to progress.
Absolutely. It take a dish. I mean, you're right. I look at it like this. I mean, America is for sale. I mean, it may not work for all of us, but America is for sale. You can position yourself if you think properly. If you're buying right, you can position other people where things get so much better for the whole. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think what happens is sometimes we get some people confused. Like, I'll be honest with you. I see some brothers who have made it to a certain point in life and they don't give a shit about the hood. They don't give a shit about our people. They really don't care. You should have made the decisions that they make. I hear that all the time. I don't agree with that, because everybody don't have the same opportunity to make certain decisions. We all have the opportunity to make a yes and no, a right and wrong decision, but our circumstances don't always call for the right answer. And right. That's what we got to understand.
Right. I agree with you 100%.
Like the water boys. A lot of people are talking about how disrespectful they are and blah, 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 blah. But nobody went up there to talk to them kids. Now, everybody had them pigged and pegged, and everybody knew what was going on, and everybody knew these was disrespectful kids. Everybody knew everybody knew these kids and didn't even really know them. Okay. Yeah. There's some kids up there that's rough behind the edges, and probably some of them will make it and some of them will become statistics in the system. That's just life. I mean, there's no holding back on that. You can have an opinion about it. You can say whatever you want, but I don't know 100% success rate on any type of conditions like some of these kids are in. And a lot of these conditions are not their fault. They're born into these situations. So, at what point do we blame the kid? At what point do the kids say, hey, I'm smarter than this, or I'm supposed to know better? You got to be taught certain things in a situation. If you're never taught, good luck. Some people learn it when it's a little too late to correct it.
Now you met with, if I understand correctly, you met with some of them young brothers, right?
I did. I did. I went up there. You know, Iris Rowley actually called me. She reached out, and I got an opportunity to go up. She said, "Well, what are you doing, Wyatt?" I was in Cincinnati, and I said, "Well, what's going on?" She said, "Well, I would like you to talk to these kids, or I want you to be part of what we're trying to build." And I said, "Well, when are you meeting again?" She said, "Well, we're meeting in about 30 minutes or something now." That was short notice, but I was, you know, it was important because I knew I was leaving town in the next couple of days. So I rode up there. I said, "I'll be there in an hour." Got there, shot a video, went in. I wanted to talk to some of the kids, and I wanted the public to see, yes, some people can be disrespectful, but if you put them in a environment, a controlled environment of respect, and you show them that there's rules, there's regulations, they'll follow those rules. They just need some discipline. And if you show them how to get to the money, all these kids want to do, they don't want to be trouble. There's a couple that use trouble to be the alpha of the group, the captain and all that stuff. But all these kids want to do is be successful at something. They want to be successful at something. And if you put that something in front of them and give them a goal and give them something to reach for, most of them want to get to the money, E. You understand? Yeah. Like we did. Yeah. They just want to get to the money, man. And if you put an easy way to get to the money and it happened to be something wrong or bad or nasty, some of these kids had that heart to be able to go into that lane. Some don't really want to do that, man. But unfortunately, I want to say something about that. Unfortunately, E, one of my biggest things in this situation was, why don't these kids find jobs? And then as I start listening to these kids, they reminded me of how I was and how we were when we were kids. And it was, it wasn't quite, you didn't get capping, back in our day, capping meant talking. Capping means something different now to these kids. But back in the day, you didn't get talked about if you went and got you a little summer job, or if you went and got you a little spot, a cleanup yard or paper route or something. You didn't get capped on like that. These days, bro, you go put on a McDonald's outfit or Arby's robe or a Kentucky Fried Chicken outfit. These young men, these kids will talk about them. They'll talk about you. They'll call you broke. They'll call you lame because you're out here trying to get honest money. And I think that's part of the fix. We gotta fix that. We got to make people believe that having a job and working hard for your money is not lame, bro. It's not lame. There's some kids that really still look at the regular lifestyle and going to get a job and working a 9 to 5 and making you a few bucks, getting a check on a Friday and going getting you some new shoes or a new fit or something. They think that shit is corny.
What about the family structure?
What about the what? I'm sorry?
What about the family structure? You met with them. Were parents there? Did you learn about their family structure? Like, are they making money? Are they trying to make money to feed little brother, little sister, or help moms with or is it just,
Unfortunately, bro, let me just be honest. It was day 1 for me. It was day 3 for them. They had been there 3 days already. Okay. It was my first day there. One of the things I learned early in life is when you're trying to get through the kids, you don't want to come off strong and get all up in their business, starting out, getting it, coming out the gate. You want them to be able to relate to you. You want them to know where you're from and what you've been through and blah, blah, blah. And like I said, bro, I'll learn all that shit when I start handling them. When you start giving them some money, they'll start opening up to you. But, or when you start doing things that they can relate to, then they'll open up to you. They're not going to sit down and you're going to sit down and be their psychiatrist or your therapist or some shit. I wasn't trying to do that. I wanted to talk to the kid that got arrested. I wanted to talk to one of the little kids was like, "Oh, you in the boxing game?" Because I wore my boxing t-shirt. You know what I mean? And that's my uncle and them. See, now I can relate. I can pull this kid to the side. You see what I'm saying? You got to let certain people gravitate to you, because if they don't, you can tell by the look in their eyes. You can tell if they're interested in what you're doing and what you're saying. You can do all of that. Some not going to be your type. Some going to want to be with the Emanuels of the world. Some going to want to be with Officer Owens, what they bring, the sports side. Some are going to gravitate to whatever your personality is. You can't, you can't stop out. You can't come out the gate talking about what's up with your family? Where your daddy at?
So that didn't come out during your conversations with him?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
yet. But you can always tell. Me personally, I can always see a kid, a young man or a young woman, and I can pretty much, you can call me, they can call me judgmental if they want to, but I can always tell what's going on when it comes to parental situations. I can tell by the respect factor. Just like you can tell when your grandmother raised somebody. You can always tell the difference. You could tell. And like I said, some was rough around the edges. But one thing I found out is that they all were open for structure. And that's where it begins. Structure in their
Because
life.
I heard some people, excuse me, I heard some people discussing, in terms of them making money, and one of the reasons why they can't go out and get a job is because that money would count against the family income, and then it might decrease the benefits of the family. And so being out there hustling, which I don't particularly, because that word had, sometimes a negative connotation to it, but being out there attempting to be an entrepreneur and make a little money on the side, that ain't no W-2. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no 1099 for that. So that wouldn't count against some family income. And yes, I was just wondering if you had heard that was the dynamic going on.
Well, not really. I can't honestly say that that's what I heard, but I do know that if a kid 15 or 16 years old is out and has a job, and the family is on assistance of some sort, that if they're on some type of public assistance, that they do have to report all income in the home. So that child's income also has to be reported. Technically, it's supposed to be that way. Me, morally, I'm like, let the child have his money. The kid's money shouldn't really affect how the mother or the father or the parents, or how you judge their income, shouldn't be based on the child. I mean, however much that can. But then I thought about it. I said, what if a kid is getting some type of Social Security or something? Then those entities that give subsidies have to think about, okay, you're getting XYZ amount of money for this kid each month in Social Security for whatever reason. It could be his dad died, his mother died, or something. No, these are payments that could be coming in from a state. So you do have to figure any income in that a child could bring into the household to equate, to put the numbers right on rents and things of that nature. I think we had a conversation too, E, about welfare. You and I was talking about that, and we were, we had to reach out. We reached out to a couple people to figure out that welfare question about, do they still get a check? You know what I'm saying?
Welfare ain't like it used to be when we was growing up.
Okay.
Yeah, when we were growing up, and we were never on welfare, but I knew a number of people who were, and I know, number one, they got food stamps, which of course you don't get the actual paper food stamps anymore. You get the card, but you got food stamps and you got a check. Food stamps and a check. And even though I'm sure that there were subsidies then, as a young person, I didn't know nothing about how much rent nobody was paying or any of that kind of stuff. But I knew that welfare checks happened and that food stamps happened. But that's not necessarily the way that it happens now.
I don't know. Based on the information that we had, maybe we can ask the audience. I mean, there's some people here I know because some of them work for those, child services and things of that nature. Back in my day, you got WIC. I grew up on welfare. I grew up on food stamps, and my mama got a check. Now, a lot of mamas got checks back where I was coming, because the mailman would walk through. Everybody was looking for the mailman first of the month. You know what I mean? So it was a check. And I'm not quite sure it's still that way. But the information that we got, there's these different programs. Do they load a prepaid card or something now? I think that's that debit card. What is it? Debit card? That EBT?
The EBT card.
That's just for groceries.
Food.
Yeah, that's for groceries. So, for all the white listeners who think all us black folks are on welfare and we all know about this shit and we got it all memorized and we know what it really is. Here's two guys right here on the air not knowing a damn thing about this system or the program. So shut down all the talk about that's how we survive. Because back when I was growing up, that's how, Caucasian, that's how people felt about us, that we were all on welfare and we lived off welfare and we had babies because the welfare check was thicker. That's so it's crazy, but that's how people thought about us. You know what I mean? And they still think that we depend on all these subsidy programs, and it's just not true. Matter of fact, I grew up knowing, after my grandmother had a long conversation with me, she did the numbers. My grandmother was great at math, and that's kind of where I got that thing from. She did the numbers, and it only made sense that there were more white people on welfare than there were black people in the United States of America. So she made that clear to me at a very, very young age. So whenever I heard those criticisms of how we live in, it never fazed me. It never bothered me at all.
But yeah, we were, I won't say we were told, we were kind of led to believe that maybe the check is a thing of the past.
Yeah.
In particular, but then that kind of don't make sense, because it was like, but if you get assistance and you get, say, child support, the state keeps that child support and you get that assistance. But that wouldn't just be food stamps. Like it don't make sense to me that would just be food stamps. I think they gotta be getting some sort of cash assistance. There has to be.
Let's think about this, bro. A lot of people sell those stamps these days, the EBT cards. And I'm just saying, the rumor is, I don't know for sure what the count is, but I think it's 2 for 1, basically. Whatever, if you got $300 worth of stamps, they'll sell them for $150 or 100. Some people get crazy with it. I don't know. Never bought any. I'm just being honest with you. Not that I'm opposed. Like, I can't. I'm not going to say I commit a crime on the air, but I understand if they're not getting any cash subsidies or a check, it only makes sense that they would sell food stamps or EBT credits or whatever now, because how else do these kids get their hair cut? How do they go buy school clothes? How do they get cash if they don't get a check anymore? So, yeah. I mean, I know most people sitting here like, well, they need to get up and work. Well, you got to understand, this system is set up where if you go out and work, you might only make $40 or $50 more a month overall by the time you do certain expenses. You add those expenses up. It's a program that was structured bad. I understand the purpose of it, but I don't understand the structure. The structure has a ceiling on you. The structure also makes it where it can be a level of just getting by, and it can take some hustle out of you. I know you don't like that word hustle, but it can take a lot of people that have a lot of potential. That system can knock that potential right out of you. Some people, do you understand what I'm saying to you, bro? Like,
yeah.
You can be great. And sometimes it's tough to be great because you just can't get over the hump of what you need in order to be able to start being great. It's hard to tell, man. It's hard to express, but I know that feeling. Been there.
That makes sense. And then, of course, a lot of people criticize the system for taking the man out of the house. People believe. Understand. Yeah, and I believe that it was a thing. It is. I don't know that it is still that way. But I do have to say, I don't see a lot of like 2-parent households on welfare or on assistance. Not that it doesn't exist, but I don't have any experience with that. Well, everybody that I knew who was on welfare, and again, I'm not saying it don't exist. Everybody that I knew that was on welfare, it was just the mama, and she might have had a boyfriend or something like that, but it wasn't a 2-parent household.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it boldly. and I hope people don't understand. I hope people understand where I'm coming from. I'm saying this from a good place in my heart, without trying to sound like I don't care about kids, because it's totally against me as a man. You know, I think that the welfare system was set up for a good purpose, but then it was also set up in a position where it could actually hinder us. It can actually put us in a position to have to be on it. And there's a whole lot of Black folks listening right now that they may be one generation or two generations removed. Two generations is really difficult to be, but there's one generation away. I'm the first generation away from welfare in my family. Okay, I'm the first. And I say that proudly because it is a system set up to keep people on top of one another. And welfare is different than a whole lot of other things. You mentioned mother and father in a family. I know some subsidies that parents that are together still could be on, and that would be like Section 8. You know, that's totally different system. That's housing. And I don't have a problem with people on Section 8. That's another big thing that we have this I'm sorry. Angela Kinney just said, breaking news. I apologize, guys. Breaking news, 5 dead, 19 injured at a 4th of July parade in Chicago, Illinois. I'll get more details. Thank you for that, Angela. I'll get more detail on that. I'm hoping it's not a shooting at one of our parades. I'm hoping that's not what it is. But when you say Chicago,
probably is.
Yeah,
it probably,
you say
because
Chicago.
I was watching a news story earlier today. And again, I don't have these numbers totally because I didn't memorize. I just saw the story. But it was like 60-something people shot and 13 dead over just the so far for the holiday weekend. So that would be like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it wouldn't be shocking to me to see more gun violence when you've seen gun violence on that level. It just continues.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought. Angela, thanks for that information. But I do think that the welfare system was put in place to benefit, but I think it hindered a lot of us, because I remember growing up and watching a certain behavior. I seen young ladies getting pregnant and getting their own apartments at 16 and 17 years old through, metropolitan housing. I mean, they're not even legal, not even 18 years old, or as soon as they turn 18. I don't know exactly how it was. I was a child, but I watched young girls have babies and then get put in a system because they didn't have the support of the family. Maybe, I don't know what it was, but I seen young girls become women at 16 and 17 years old. Now they own an apartment and they're getting, welfare checks and food stamps and all that nature. And they're becoming adults in that same bucket, in that same system. And I didn't see it that way when I was a kid, of course, because that was the way of life. That's how it was for majority of us. But I just think that we need to revisit how that works. And it also, somebody sent me a video over the weekend that kind of piggybacks off that point. And they were talking about, it was a lady, I forgot who sent it, but a lady was saying, thank you, ladies. It's time for us to apologize to our men. We were wrong. We were just wrong. And it took me a minute to get into the video. And I'm like, she started talking about all the things that have been part of the system that women felt like they didn't need a man. They had that system. They didn't say it was the system, but it was the system that was their support system at this point. And it was the money. It was the housing. And I think they had a valid point. I'm going to find that video, I promise, and maybe I'll play it next time on air, or if somebody could think about who it was that sent it in the Wyatt Messenger group. I don't remember who it was, but that sister was deep. Oh, Crystal Wilwright sent me that. She said, I sent you that video, Wyatt. Crystal, I tried to reach you the other day. That's what me and E-Man was calling you about, was the welfare thing and that video. I need you to resend that to me if you don't mind. I would love to see that again. And it was basically a sister saying where they have failed in that whole process of a man and a woman having children. And because, we got some listeners, bro. We got some people that straight out blame men for the reason why we in the position we in. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
straight up blame men for our conditions. And I don't think it's truly on the man. Now, I've been tough on the fellas, but you can't honestly just put it on the men.
Oh.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I would say this. I'm looking at some of the comments, and somebody said something about if you're on welfare, you better not tell them you had a man in the household because you would lose it. And I know that was bad. I know that had bad consequences for the family structure, but I kind of understand the mindset behind that. The mindset behind that makes sense because it go a little something like this. I dated a young lady and we had moved in together. And I had a conversation with her father, and her father used to help her out. But her father said to me, okay, now y'all decided that y'all gonna live together. Don't look to me to help y'all out. Like, you a man in the house now. And if there's a man in the house, you shouldn't need no other man coming into your house helping out. And I never intended to ask that brother for no help, but he just wanted to make it clear, like, she's used to me helping her, but now that's your role. And I perceived that the government was kind of the same way. We have a certain standard for men. If you a man in this household, you are responsible for this household. And if you can't be responsible for this household and I gotta help, you need to go. Right. And that's a lot of people perceive it that way. That's what a man's job is to provide for his family. And if you taking the role as the leader of this family, the head of this household, you taking the role as provider. And we take that serious. Now, again, I understand that it ain't always that simple, but I don't necessarily believe that the mindset is evil. I understand the mindset. I understand. If my daughter called me and say, Daddy, I need $20 for my gas and electric, I ain't even gonna think about it. Here's $20. No questions, nothing. If my son called me and say, Daddy, I need $20 for, I got some questions. I'm gonna still give him the $20. I got some questions. Boy, what you doing with your money? You know what I'm saying? How are you doing?
Fair, though? Is that fair?
It might not be fair.
Okay. That's an honest answer.
But that's the way I want to know, because a part of me, I need to teach you to be able to provide for you. I need to teach you, and I know I need to teach her too, but she's a young woman. You a grown-ass man. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to make this stuff happen. And again, it ain't that men don't ever need help, but you don't want to, at least for me, I didn't want to raise a man that was constantly in a state of needing help to provide.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense, E. I know that I've done some things. I have two daughters. I have a 21-year-old. She just turned 21 in December. Well, she'll be 22 in December. And then I have a 17-year-old who just turned 17 in April. And one of the big things that I've installed in them is, unfortunately, maybe that's going to backfire on me. I don't know. But I've tried to make them as independent as possible, but yet vulnerable to the fact that they would know a good man. It's a tough situation to be in, but women have to understand that you're going to have to give some leeway of that independency, because I've been around a lot of independent women who end up with guys who just aren't quite at the same level of independency. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I know some girl. Matter of fact, I have a friend of mine. She's a doctor in Atlanta, down in Georgia, and she shouts at me and she wants to know why she can't find a good man, but she constantly finds these guys that depend on her money. And I'm like, I used to say it was because of the level that she was at. But then I also found out that she just like what she like. I mean, she like a certain type of dude, and that certain type of dude is just not mind framed with that much independency on his own of being, they just don't match up to that, to where she is. That don't mean she can't be happy, but that also puts her in a position where she's going to get used. It's a tough thing to explain. Some of these sisters know exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, E, I got a phone caller on the line, man. You feel like taking a call?
Let's go.
Okay. Hold on one second, caller. Good evening, caller. This is King and I. Who am I speaking with?
It's AP, bro.
AP, what's good with you?
Oh, all good, brother. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for holding. What's on your mind, brother?
Just one thing out the box. So I'm enjoying you and E.
Thank
This is, but I wanted to go back to the being on the welfare system. You know, I came up. You know, at one point my parents was on the system because both parents lost their job and they worked at the same plant here. They used to be here in Cincinnati and they closed down. It was called Abbott Living. But anyway, um, you know, as far as the welfare thing is, I think it has its place. But what I would like to see, which I also posted on one of the chats here, is that I believe everybody should be working, whether you know it's a low-paying job or not. But and when you get the subsidies, you know, I think it should be made up in cash that you know for an adjusted living. But at least you're working and you're showing your kids that you might have that. Yeah, I get up every day and I go to this job. You know, instill some kind of work ethic in them that they can see. You know,
you.
I just, you know, this just at home getting a check for free. You know, that kind of work bothers me a little bit. Because I look at anything, if you're going to get some money, you should be doing something for it. And I don't care if it's, you know, they have you pick you up in a bus and have you clean up, you know, help clean up your neighborhood in the daytime. You know, like the kids might be in school or whatever. You know, people, if you, it's one of those things, once you get to be sitting at home all the time, that's your mindset. Your kids see that, oh, I can be on the system too and sit at home. You know, I mean, there are some, I mean, the majority of kids that we have, they go out and do better than that. But just to get people out of that mindset of just sitting around doing nothing and getting free money, I think you should have to do something. If it's not enough for your family to survive, okay, the government makes up the difference. I definitely believe the living wage for families and everything should be adjusted, not the way it is now. But as long as you're doing something to help yourself, I don't know the government shouldn't help. You know, I'm the same way with my kids. You know, I'll give you anything as long as I see you trying to do for yourself. But just to let you, you know, just to be giving you my money for free or whatever, I don't get down like that.
I understand. I understand. So you think there should be some type of work program? And I think they did do that years ago. I mean, when I was coming up, I believe they said you could only stay on welfare for 3 years. And then they had this breakdown or an evaluation, or they had this thing that you had to go to. And then they added an extension, and then they stopped talking about it. Do you remember that day where they was like you can only stay on welfare for like 3 years or something like that, and then you didn't hear about it anymore? That's
I
because
think that, yeah, I think that was implemented during the Clinton era,
yeah, yeah,
the Bill Clinton era.
that's exactly
So
what.
yeah, like I said, we all ain't gonna be entrepreneurs. We all ain't gonna be lawyers and doctors. There's gonna be a segment of our population that's gonna be working lower wage jobs.
Right.
And I think in that instance, that yeah, the government should step in and help you out if you need it. You know, and the way the money that they have right now, it's there to keep you at the bare minimum. You know, as long as I'm working, you're taking out taxes. So why should I, you know, try to, we spend so much money on all the stuff, court projects that politicians have and all that. Why shouldn't they give that money back to the people who need it to bring them up to you know, a good standard of living? As long as that person is, you see that they're out trying to help themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and that's why I mean you hear me sometimes E and AP. Y'all hear me talking about how much money we send into Ukraine and some of these other. America is not just a welfare country for its people. I mean, I don't mean that derogatory. I'm saying they don't just give out money to people on welfare. They give out a whole lot of money to other people's projects in other countries. And I'm a firm believer. Like I am never, and I'll say this on the record, I'm never going to spend my money on other children before I spend my money on my kids. If my kids need school clothes and your kid needs school clothes, I got to take care of mine first. And whatever I may have left or however I may have budgeted or whatever, then I'll go out and spread my love to someone else. But I'm always going to take care of home first. That's just how I do it. And America seems to take care of other people first before they take care of their own, or take care of other people a little better. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but that's how I see it. I just think that welfare system is not really set up to see people be better. I mean, look at the projects. Look at how we grew up on top of one another, man. And we grew up we grew up with little or nothing, and you don't even feel broke. Now, this was my generation, E. We didn't feel broke in the projects.
Right.
We felt like that shit was normal. That like every day was normal like that. We didn't feel like we could do better. Nobody was like, I'm getting out of the project. That good time shit that you hear and all that old shit, bro. We wasn't living like that. We was living like good times, but wasn't nobody talking about some, I can't wait to get to school. This is my group, my clique. I don't know who y'all was with, but none of us was like, I can't wait to do such and such so I can get out of here. No, we had fun every day. It was.
I don't know why, because like I said, my welfare thing was in the 70s, and I even then seen people who were on the system. They still worked, if they could or whatever jobs were available, but they still had some pride. I used to live in a Denhart building that right there next to Family Market. And every weekend, the ladies in the complex in the building were out wiping their banisters down, sweeping their steps down, cleaning the windows that might have been on their level. The courtyard was always clean, but nobody better not see you throwing garbage. There was still some pride about the thing, even though you didn't have a lot, you still had some pride. You showed it.
Yeah, I agree.
Things have changed. People have changed. I just. We talk about our kids. Yeah, you might have came up in the system or on the system, but your parents still have some standards and expectations of you, of how to act in public, and because when you went out that door, you still represented them.
Are you saying that it's not that way these days?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I mean, when you go back, we talked before about the 16-year-old. He might be 17 or 18 now. Who's going to be on trial for being a hitman? How is a child running around at 14, 15 years old at 1 to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning and killing people? And you don't have no responsibility in that. I just, when our parents said, when I was a latchkey kid, they said, come home from school, take your butt in the house, and stay there. And if somebody sing you out, if Miss Mamie sing you out, and she would definitely let your parents know, because they, again, my mom, and the people around the corner and all these ladies were kind of like sisters.
Yeah.
They had that kind of a relationship. And I mean, Eve's talked about it before. There were people who would spank your butt if they seen you in the street playing.
For sure.
And let your parents know when you got home and you get another spanking. That was real. I don't care what nobody say.
No, I can vouch for that. I can vouch for that. I'm a product of it. I got ass whoopings from neighbors. But try that today.
I never did and never would have done one.
Neighbor, hey, your kid was doing this. And they'd be like, why are you in my business?
Right.
It's like, I'm trying to let you know that your kid was doing something that could get them hurt, and you worried about me being in your business.
Yeah.
It's different, man. The parents are different.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. All right, Anthony, you got anything else, AP?
No, bro. Good talking to you.
Hey, we appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you and much love to you. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, bro. Ready.
Why y'all wild on that one. I'm not saying it didn't happen, and I ain't trying to derail the conversation, but I would have never took a whooping from no neighbor. It just wasn't ever gonna happen.
Yeah,
But
well, it was different in our day. We grew up. We were a true village. I mean,
but
villagers
yeah, I
looked out.
understand the concept. I understand the concept. But Jerica says parents are not parenting. No moral standards, no healthy expectations. Okay. But we know that. We know that. But my question to you, Wyatt, and to everybody listening, in all honesty, we know things are not like they were. Do you think we can reverse this? I think it's irreversible. I think we're on a path that we can't back up. Parents are not going to parent the way they used to parent. Morals are never going to, once you let the genie out the bottle, you can't shove the bad boy back in there. He out the bottle. Or she, whatever your genie, gender identity is. The genie is out the bottle. So if there's no reversing this, if parents are not, and I think we all agree that right now, a good number of parents, I wouldn't say the majority, because I still believe that the overwhelming majority of people are doing what they're supposed to do. The overwhelming majority of parents are doing what they're supposed to do. The overwhelming majority of young people are doing what young people, of course, they make, stupid decisions because they're young, like we did when we were young. But for those parents that aren't doing it, you think we can back the train up?
Honestly, I think it's always going to be like this because of the fact that it's always been this way. I don't know of any era, of any decade, where a group of people, not just black folks, there's a certain amount, a percentage of white kids that are just F ups. There's a percentage of Jewish kids that are F ups. There's a generation of Irish kids that are F ups, and you're always going to have that, no matter what. If you think we're going to go all the way back as a culture and start at the drawing board and get everybody on the same page, that's just impossible to do.
Yeah,
that's impossible. That's almost unrealistic. It's not even realistic because, listen, let me just say this for the record. The people we talking about, the parents that aren't parents anymore, the kids that are out here just doing whatever they want to do, folks, y'all got to understand, this is an unbelievable small percentage of our people. I'm talking about 2 in every 100, 1.7 in every 100. That's what it is. So we talk about this shit like black kids are like the epitome of trouble. And it's so wrong. And what happens is we have magnified a lot of the shit that go on in our communities, and it represents us. Let me tell you this. I got to say this, and I got to say it loud and proud. Friday, I was listening to your show while I was in a medical camp at Ohio State University that were all minority kids. And when I say minority, I don't mean just black. You see what I'm saying? I don't mean just young men. It was guys and girls. And minorities were Asians, Indian, black kids. And we had a class. They had a class of about 75 minorities. I put it on my Facebook Live page. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, this is excellence right here. I'm looking at all the kids that are in these classes, and then I'm looking at the parents that are in this class too, because we're all watching our kids go through this ceremony. And I'm like, where are the cameras? Where are all the black folks that's standing around talking about our kids ain't shit and the parents ain't shit? Where is Channel 5, Channel 9, and all that showing these ceremonies? Where is all of that? And then I came to the conclusion that it's not really important to them. What's important is when they see a robbery happen or certain things happen, and then that's what we talk about more. But we don't talk, and then we also have our own issues, because when we see kids doing great, we just leave them alone. We don't give them as much energy when we see kids doing what they're supposed to do, because that's what they're supposed to do. But we tend to give a lot of energy to the bad stuff, and we're all guilty of it. I mean, we actually advertise the bad shit for people all the time. Not you and I, so say. I'm saying our community does. You know, we act like, you know, I say parents. It's always the parents' fault. I say that. I say it's always the parents' fault. Yes, I don't care what color they are. You know, so, you know, I just have a problem with us always focusing in on what our kids are doing. And it's so many other kids doing the same shit. Now, you might not hear about white kids that are shooting and doing all those things because they may not do that. They just do different stuff, but it all equates to the same thing. It's all crime. It all leads to destruction. It all leads to poverty. It all leads to you going to the penitentiary one day. And it's all the same. It's just our stuff is highlighted.
I'm only going to disagree with you like a very little bit. It's so minute that, you know, I almost didn't even mention it. But you said it's always the parents' fault. That's where I disagree with you. That's where I disagree with you. And again, only a little bit. It's always the parents' responsibility.
Yeah.
I make a very slight, you know, distinction between that's your fault and that's your responsibility. Because your fault to me mean in some way you caused it, or, you know, you were neglectful in terms of feeding something, but you were to some degree an active participant. Responsibility is whether you knew it, whether you didn't know it, whether you fed it, whether you didn't feed it, that's your job. So you messed up. You neglected your job. So I know it's a very slight difference.
So neglect, you don't think neglect leads to fault?
Neglect can, but it doesn't necessarily.
I think neglect is definitely fault.
I believe it is. I believe it is possible. I believe it is possible for a young person, a child, to do some things that their parents don't know that they're doing.
We all, and yeah, that's very true.
And even though you didn't know that your child did this, it's still your responsibility, but not necessarily your fault.
So if your kid is keeping a gun in the house, and when your kid walk out the door, your child turn around and say to you, "Don't go in my room, Mom. Nothing in there is your business." And you don't know they have a gun in the house, but you know what type of lifestyle they starting to lead because you looking at the friends, you paying attention. First of all, another piece of neglect is not paying attention. And when you're not paying attention, that's going to lead to whatever they do turns into your fault because you totally neglected. But let's just say that kid has that gun in the house and that kid has the level of talking to you and saying, "Don't go in my room while I'm not here. This stuff, you know, that's my personal space." That, you know, parents that neglect the true responsibility of parenting their kids, when their kid go out there and do something that the parent neglected to move forward with and be a parent, whatever that kid go out and do, it is that parent's fault because they could have stopped that child from going down that road or doing whatever they were doing. We can't be friends with our kids. We have to be parents to our kids.
Well, let me say this. Using what you just said, that I might even give you fault. But let's make it a little different. And I don't know any of these young men, but I'm just using this as an example to demonstrate where fault might not be the case. You find out that your child, or you don't find out, you even encourage them. Hey, you know, see somebody selling water, whatever. You might say to them, you know, hey, there's some enterprising young men out there doing what they got to do. So you support that. Go on out there and you watch them. You watch them. You even sit there with them for a little while. Make sure they doing it right. Then, you know, they know what they doing. You've taught your child respect and a good hard work ethic. You go home because now they got it from here. You've taught them, you've shown them the whole nine. And then you find out my kid was out there acting up. They didn't act up when I was out there. I taught them not to act up. They did something bad. That ain't my fault. It's still my responsibility. I got to deal with that child, but that ain't my fault because I did everything I was supposed to do. That's what it is. I mean, it's not worth even really getting caught up in, but in my mind, it's a small distinction that makes a difference because I'm not blaming you parent, because your kid decided on a whim to do something that they didn't have any business doing that's counter to anything that you've ever taught them, although it is still your responsibility because that's still your child.
All right, let's do this, because in my world, I like to use specifics. In your case that you just explained, E, give me a specific situation, a drug deal, a kid that's playing with guns, he's gang related. Be more specific in your example of what, as me being a parent to a child that's doing what he want to do or she want to do. Give me a case where this kid is doing something and I neglected them, but what they ended up doing was not my fault. Can you be more specific on what they were actually doing?
Well, I mean, I think the example that I just gave was pretty good, but let's throw that out. You talking about real world?
Okay, he's out selling drugs. I'm saying let's be more specific on the act that they're committing. Is it they're doing drugs? They're selling drugs. Can we use that?
If you want to use that, sure.
I mean, I'm just whatever you.
Okay, I guess this is what it comes down to.
I'm trying to tell you, as a parent, we should know everything. We don't know every step our kids are taking, but we know what our kids are into. You can't tell me one.
That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true.
Okay, then you have fault in what your kid is doing because you neglect. I'm not saying you know every time your kid is having sex or whenever your kid is actually carrying a gun, but you should be able to tell by the activities in the day-to-day what your child is into and what they're doing. You should be able, if you got a gauge, if you're engaged in your child's life, you should know what them kids are doing. Like I said, you're not going to know when they're doing it, but you should know that they're capable of shooting somebody. You should know if they capable of out there selling drugs. You should be able to tell by the shit that they're wearing that you didn't buy. You should be engaged in your child's life to have an idea of what your kid is capable of doing.
I agree. But at the same time, which you're not making an allowance for, and that bothers me, there are times when, because again, and I don't want us to get bogged down with this, it's not a big enough deal to get into a full-blown argument over, but there are things that your child can do and you don't know that they're doing that's wrong. And this is a small example because I never sold drugs, but the expectation was I'm going to school. I'm getting up. I'm getting on the bus. I'm grabbing my books. I'm getting off at Aiken High School. I'm going in and I'm hitting all my classes. I'm getting on the bus and I'm coming home. That was the expectation. Now, there was a time when I got on the bus with my books, got dropped off at Aiken High School, got in my friend's car, and we went somewhere else.
Right.
And
your mom didn't.
We didn't get caught doing nothing wrong.
Right.
But if we had, I wouldn't want anybody to say it was my mama's fault that I was there doing that, because it wasn't. She didn't teach me that. She wouldn't have approved of it. In her mind, I was doing what I had been doing all along. So you would come and say, yeah, that was Helen's fault for letting Emmanuel not go to school. No, she didn't know. Now, was it still her responsibility? Yeah, because she's responsible for me. But it wasn't her fault. It was my fault for making that decision on that day.
I feel you. But let me explain to you the engagement part, the engaging in your child's part. Are we talking about Miss Helen only sent you only skipped school 1 or 2 times, E-Man? Is that what we're saying here? Or are we talking about this was a truancy situation that happened on a regular basis? Let's say it's that kid.
Let's say it was 1 or 2 times, but then let's say that day, me and Steve decided to go rob UDF. Everybody would have been looking at my mama like, you raised an animal. How dare you raise this menace that's out there robbing the convenience store? but she had no, even if it was one isolated incident. So when you say when kids do stuff wrong, it's their parents' fault. That's all
Yeah,
I'm taking exception with. It's
yeah.
not necessarily the parents'
I'm
fault.
about to tell you where Miss Helen may have failed you. See, the first thing that come to my mind is if I'm riding with, see, I roll with dudes like that. But the first thing I found, when I found out what they was going to do, and I knew it was going to affect my life, and I knew that I had to answer to my mama, I wasn't going with them. I wasn't skipping school that day. I wasn't going to school so we can go rob UDF and all that type of shit. I wasn't going to be part of that because I knew that I was not going to disappoint myself. I was going to disappoint my mama. And that's part of how you get raised. Now,
See, I don't know that that's reasonable.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. I'm not saying I didn't skip school. Here's the other thing. This is why I wanted you to be specific and use something that we can grab onto about it. And that was the skipping the school part. You're a truant, like for instance, CPS. One of the problems that CPS had all year, for years now, is their truancy situation. So if you got a kid that's skipping school all the time, you could say, well, I didn't raise that kid to do that. But at what point should that parent be engaged in that child's life to notice that the grades aren't right? Something's going on with the grades. You're getting all Fs. Let me go talk to the people at the school. Let me engage myself in my child's life to see what's going on and why are you getting Fs? And then you see the attendance. Now I got to get more engaged in my child's life. I'm not saying that you're going to stop a kid from doing what they're doing right away, but there is a level of getting in your child's life where you should know what your child is capable of doing. And if that is skipping school to do whatever, you got to be able to see them things, man. You won't be able to tell at the beginning, but eventually as time go by, there's some stories that come along with what your kid is doing out here.
Let me tell you this. I knew my mama. There were certain friends that my mama never met. My mama only met the friends that would have met her expectations. She wasn't going to meet the friends that didn't. So you can't, well, she should have knew who he was hanging out with. No, she shouldn't have, because she wasn't never going to meet them because they were never going to come to the house. Those were people that I met at school, that I dealt with at school, and that I dealt with when I was doing stuff that I knew that my mama would not have, but that didn't come home. So that's what I think it's unrealistic to assume that. And great if you are a parent and you have that kind of relationship with your child, that you know everything that they're doing and you know all of their friends and so on and so forth.
I don't.
Cool, but I'm just saying, and that's all I'm saying. And we disagree, and we can agree to disagree.
Here go the thing. If I find some drugs in my daughter's car, okay, let's say I find some. Any friend that she brought through, I'd be like, oh, I would have never put that on the kid. That could be a thing. I'm smart enough to know maybe it's a friend that don't come to the crib. I know all of that. But there are certain things that line up with what your kid is doing out here. It's just certain things that line up.
But is it your fault that she had drugs in her car the first time you found them? Is that your fault?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel responsible for that.
I agree you're responsible. I agree you're responsible.
I feel well, you got to understand. If I failed somewhere, it's my fault that I failed. It's my fault that I failed my child. Now, a lot of people don't look at it that way.
Unless you don't do anything or unless you don't try to intervene or something like that, then you failed. But because your child made a bad decision at a young age, and then once you got wind of it, you took responsibility and you tried to fix it, I don't know that you failed. Every mistake, every bad decision that your kid make is not necessarily your failure.
Listen, there's a difference between ethic failure and ethic decision and making a decision to do certain things that may not have anything to do with morals and ethics. Those are the things that are installed in us by our parents. So there are things in my life today that I failed at, that I made bad decisions at as a young man. And I can put that on my mama because of how she raised me. She didn't raise me to do those things, but she also didn't raise me about those things. I didn't know about them things, so I was accepted to it. Like if an OG came by and wanted to teach me certain parts of the game or something, I was open to it because my mama never told me, listen, this is what you don't want to get into because of blank, blank, blank. So anything that I've made decisions on in that case, I'm just being honest with you, bro. That's where I'm from. I'm from that. Like, I'm like, look, my mother had certain boyfriends growing up. I ain't gonna get all like that personal and shit, but she had certain boyfriends in her life that rubbed off on me. Their lifestyles rubbed off on me. I blame my mama for that. I blame my mother for that. I blame my father who was nowhere around. These are parents, regardless if they in our life or not. The things that they do play a huge part in how we're raised and what we're willing to do as children and what we're willing to take our chances with. There's some things in this world, bro, I just won't do because I know the repercussions of doing it. And I know that I don't want to disappoint my mother. That came from how she raised me.
I just don't, again, I don't want to, and I'll let it go. We view things differently. I just don't look at every bad decision that I made as a failure of someone else. My mother could not have thought or figured out to take time and to mention every single thing, every single bad decision that I could possibly make in my
We're not talking about everything. We're talking about life-changing things. That's what I was under the impression of.
Even then, even if my mama told me, because look, you don't understand how important going to school, not skipping school, doing your work and all that stuff was in my household. I did not do homework. My mama whooped me. I got in trouble at school. Everything under the sun. I had a policy. I don't do homework. I had a policy. There was nothing she could have done. Nothing. When I tell you nothing, I mean nothing she could have done to make me do that, even though she stressed how important it was. That wasn't her fault.
Your mother knew you wasn't doing homework, bro. This is totally different. You wasn't sneaking, not doing homework. You just wasn't doing it.
But even if I was sneaking and not doing homework, how would that be her fault? I think that's some excuse making. And don't get me wrong, it's still her responsibility. So we're not disagreeing on that. But to totally place the blame on a parent, like you said, somebody would come up to you and they would, say, hey, I'm gonna hip you to the game. And somehow that was your mama's fault because she didn't tell you that if an OG come up to you and say, let me hip you to the game, you're supposed to say no. No, that's your fault for making that decision. Like to get down to that granular of a level to say, hey, you don't do this and don't do that. And that's cool if you think to do that, but come on, it's not her fault. Like some of that was your fault. Some of that was your decision making.
Your logic here is the reason why where we are today. Because we don't look at parents for nothing. We don't look at parents being responsible for the bullshit that our kids are out here doing.
I said they're responsible. I'm agreeing they're responsible.
But you know what? It brings me back to those days of every time a dude catch a touch, it's going to be off the path for some people. But every time a dude catch a pass, I'll give you a perfect example. LeBron James' mama. LeBron James' mama is at every game now. She all up in loving this, doing what's going on. This ain't no shot at LeBron James, but LeBron James' mama is exactly what I'm talking about. She had nothing to do with his upbringing and all that stuff because she was on drugs. He was raised in the gym and all that. But every time LeBron James win a championship, not only does he say, Cleveland, this is for you. He says, thank you, Mom. Thanks, Mom. See, if we're going to be critical, if we're going to give them the pub when we're successful, we got to hold them responsible when we fail.
I agree.
And then no, because we don't hear that. I don't hear that from public officials. I don't hear the chief of police saying it in Cincinnati. I don't hear any public. There's a reason why your city council people get on the cameras and don't hold the parents responsible, because they know it's a bad thing to do. It's to say something publicly and criticize parents for the actions that they're letting their kids do. It's just a bad look. But sometimes people hide from the truth. And I don't understand why we are allowing our kids to do what they do, and then we don't blame the parents. We don't find the parents responsible for the actions that these kids are doing. I don't get it.
Again, I'm agreeing that the parents are responsible because that's your child. I'm just not agreeing that it's necessarily their fault. And there's a difference between
well,
being responsible for something and something being your fault.
I'm always gonna say, if I'm responsible for my team, whatever happens, whether it's good or bad, it's my fault. Fault don't always mean that something went bad. If we made it to the finish line first, I was responsible for that, then I get the glory. If we made it to the finish line last, as the team leader, as the person that's setting the tone, then it's my fault that we came in last. It's my fault. I don't care if Johnny failed. I don't care what happened on our way getting where we going. It's my fault if we fail.
Yeah, I don't agree with you on that. I don't agree with you on that. Fault means something different to me. So I guess we're talking semantics now. Because if I done trained you, we in the race, you leading, and you know what I'm saying, you got great whatever, and you trip over that little rock in your lane, and you fall and you lose the race. That wasn't my fault. That was just something that happened. And that's not, we look at fault different. You tripped and you failed. It's unfortunate, but that ain't my fault. We just differ. We just differ.
All right, let's take a call, bro. Good evening, caller. This is King and I. Who are we speaking with?
It's Tracy. How you all doing today?
Hey, Tracy, how you doing?
Hey, Tracy.
Good. I can't talk long because I'm grilling and I can't burn my house down because that would be my fault. My husband's not going to accept this responsibility for that. But listen, I have spent years in the past. But today I agree wholeheartedly, 100%.
Tracy, we lost you a little bit.
Can you accept fault in everything that I do when it comes to my kids, because at some point the onus goes on to the kid. You know, kids get to a fork in the road, they make a decision. Even when they hear the seed that's been planted in the back of their head, mom said, don't go to this neighborhood, but I'm gonna go anyway. That's not my fault. He told me he was walking out of the door. I trusted that he said he was going where he went because we give them that kind of grace. But if he gets to that fork in the road and he makes a different decision and it costs him some big consequences in the end, nobody's going to tell me that it's my fault and it was my responsibility. I should have known where he was. He went where he told me he was going to go, and I trusted him. If I get up and I have to leave this house at 6:30 in the morning and I trust him to get up and go to school and he decides he's going to lay in bed or go out and get in trouble with his friends, that's not my fault. It's my responsibility that he goes to school. And at 16, 15 years old, I'm trusting that he can do that. I'm not, at some point, I'm letting your hand go and I'm not treating you like a baby. And that's where I kind of differ with you, Wyatt, because we have to, as parents, trying to get them down this road and making them grow up, we have to put some onus and responsibility on them. It's not going to always be our fault. So that's what I was getting. I was listening to the conversation.
No, I understand, Tracy. I appreciate you calling in, but it's not that I feel like every time a child makes a bad decision that it's our fault that they made that bad decision. I'm not saying it quite like that. I'm talking about when things are done. If a child decides to go out and play with guns and live a certain lifestyle out in the streets, and we are allowing them to live with us and do the things that they do, we should be able to determine what our kids are into. And if they go out and do something, it's our fault. If you don't know, I get it. I understand. But I still say that there's some type of parenting that I don't know anybody that don't know what their kids are into. If you don't know the type of stuff your kids are into, if they go out there and do something, I say that the parent finds some fault. There's fault in the parent because this parent is not engaged in their child. That's just how I feel about it. I'm not saying that, like me, I made a whole lot of different bad decisions in life. And yeah, I could probably say my mother didn't know most of them. But I can also blame her for some of the things that I did because she didn't engage. Like, I skipped school like you, was talking about. My mother had to be to work before I had to be to school. So I found myself riding the bus, the same bus I got on with the bus card for free. I would ride that bus downtown and sit downtown in the courthouse and do all the things I needed to do to kill time till it was time for me to go home. I did that shit almost until I failed that grade. At what point does my parent didn't make that decision for me to skip. Where she becomes at fault is she was not engaged in me enough to be able to tell that my grades were slipping, to a point where one report card came, another report card came. Now it's getting too late for me to recover and finish that grade because my mother was not engaged in me. She was too much into what she had to do to put food on the table. I understand the process or the problem, but she lost that engagement that we had, that she wasn't keeping up with me. That's her fault.
Did you have a village, Wyatt?
That's hard to say.
Because I think we got to get back to the village.
But do you understand what I'm saying there, Tracy?
I do understand what you're saying, and she probably was way too consumed with trying to take care of her priorities and responsibilities. And again, she probably trusted you enough to do your part. You know, I can't do my part if you don't do your part. You know, if I have to stop and 100% engage with you, then guess what? I get fired from my job because they're tired of my excuses, and now we can't eat.
But Tracy, that's a parent's responsibility. The kid,
it is a parent's responsibility, but how am I going to take care of you if you can't do what I taught you to do to take care of yourself?
I'm not arguing that. Sis, you're absolutely right. Every kid, whatever position, see, when you start, see, this is what I'm saying when some people be like, kids, how we ever going to get back to where we need to be? Where do that start? Where does getting back start?
I'm not saying you should have been out there raising yourself. Don't get me wrong.
But see, I did.
But you're old enough to do some things responsibly.
Yes, I understand. But there's certain things, there's certain levels. If parents are neglecting their kids in certain aspects, and then those kids go out and do something wrong in that way, it is the parents' fault because they neglected the kid. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that single mothers or single fathers shouldn't be held responsible. I'm not saying that they got it all down. I'm saying that if you're not engaged in your child, it's your fault if they out there doing something because you wasn't paying attention. If I skip school so much, my mother, look, she can't stop me from skipping school, but she can engage herself in what I'm doing. Okay, something's going to tell. If it's not the school, if it's not my teachers in the school calling saying that I'm absent, something else down the line, if my mother is in my life, well, if my father or mother is in my life, they will see that I have an issue with going to school because my report cards, my grades will show. Something will show. But if you're not paying attention, then you have fault in what I'm doing because you're allowing me to skip school. You're not paying attention to what's going on.
I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And that was why I said it wasn't the distinction that I was making, because you're talking about long-term situations where some intervention could help with that situation. And if you're not engaged to see it, that's different than what you actually said, which is why I kept saying not necessarily, because I agree that it could be. But I was talking about the idea that every bad decision, every time a child does something wrong, their parent
I wasn't
is
trying
at
to
fault.
make it that minute. I wasn't making it that minute. That's why when I came back and asked you, can you give me an example? Can we make it? Can we be more specific on what it is that the child is doing wrong? Look, you're not.
Here's an example, Wyatt.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you take it as your fault? Remember when your daughter wrecked your car? She was driving a Mercedes that day.
Yeah.
Was it your fault because you let her drive that she had to wreck? Was that wreck your fault?
It wasn't my fault that I let her drive, but it was my fault at some other things that happened that day. Yes, okay. I do take blame at her wrecking one of my cars. I take blame for that because if look, what she did, she got cited for. And these are things that I had went over with her of what we don't need to be doing. You know, stay off your phone when you're driving. Don't do FaceTime when you're driving. Don't do certain things. Clear the distance. We had all that conversation. And she can look me dead in my face and say, hey, I got it, Dad. And if she go out and do that, an accident is a little bit different. But if she's at fault for those accidents and she did something that her and I had went over before, you know what I'm saying, Tracy? Yes, I take blame because she didn't. Yeah, I take blame. And how I know I take blame is who they send the bill to. They don't send it to her.
Here's the thing, Wyatt. I just
what?
went over some things. I said, you just made my point. You all went up some things, and I'm not saying that this is what's happening. I'm just kind of changing. You all went over and say if it was texting and driving, and she made the conscious decision to text anyway, or to be bopping to the music and not paying attention. That's not your fault. You planted the seed. You did your part.
Okay, Tracy.
She made the fork in the road.
It's not my fault that she had the accident. It's not my fault that she hit the back of another car. It's not my fault of the action, but it's my fault that once I school on her on what not to do, if she do it anyway, I have to take blame in that. I dropped the ball somewhere where I did not. I'm sorry, that's just me. I gotta take the blame because that's how I parent. When I go off, if I never went over it, if I never had these discussions with her, then I gotta say, okay, well, shit, I never taught her that. I never taught her how not to do this.
That would be your fault.
That would be my fault as well. But I also take blame if I tell my kids, look, because a kid turned out to be a drug addict and you didn't told them your whole life, don't do drugs. I still feel I failed my child somewhere for them to turn to drugs instead of doing it another way. That's just how I feel. I know I got off of the car accident for the drugs, but it's the same thing to me. Most of us feel responsible regardless of whatever we've done for a child and they end up being successful. I feel the same way if my kid does something and fails or makes a mistake. I feel, where did I go wrong? What happened? Where did my communication go wrong? What happened with what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to teach my child? I mean, what did I do? I mean, that's just a self-check that I have in myself. I do.
Well, I remember you having a daughter. She should be well and grown because she was older than my kids now. The way she turned out opposite what you dreamed. Would that be your fault?
Me?
No.
Okay.
No, that wouldn't be my fault. Now I might try to, if I could pinpoint,
make their own choices. I can't take fault in that. It's not my responsibility anymore.
Right.
I mean, you sort of see where the ship is steering at a certain age, and why our kids are the same age. You see where the ship is going. You try and guide the sail the other way, but if they're hell-bent on going down the wrong path, we got to let them go. We did all we could.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not trying to go against the grain on this. This is just something that I felt as a young adult myself, that if I had a little bit more guidance, if I had a little bit more engagement on my end with my mom, especially.
But guess what, Wyatt? You turned out fine. At some point when you was going down the wrong road, you heard mom in the back of your head, and look at you now.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to say she ain't had nothing to do. She didn't have anything to do with that. I don't want to say that because she installed a lot of morals and responsibility in me. But let me just say also, a lot of the things that I did wrong in the decision making that I made was based on the things that she brought into my life. Some of the men that she chose to be with that I looked up to, that I may have said that if that was never brought into my life, I probably would have never went down those roads. So like I said, it's a give or take. I know how influential parents can be in our life. So when you hear me say it's their fault, I'm not saying if you skip school, E-Man, it's your parent fault. I'm saying if you fell out of school, it's your parent fault because you were truant. I'm saying if you were constantly not going to school. Y'all can't think I'm sitting here thinking that, okay, Tracy, your son skipped school on Tuesday. That's your fault because he's going to make those type of dumbass decisions, right? But Tracy, whose fault is it if your kid skipped school Tuesday, on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays of every week, end up failing the 9th grade? Whose fault is it? Is it his because he didn't go to school, or is it yours?
I got to take responsibility in that, especially at that point in their lives, because I should have been checking his grades. I should have been going to parent-teacher conference. I can agree with all of that. But here's where another fault lies. It's the parents' fault if you have a kid in your house telling you what you can and can't do, and what they are gonna do or not gonna do. We're not playing that game. So you have to get control early. Just like you said, the kid would say, "Don't go in my room. Respect my space, whatever." You better get somewhere and sit down. Is what I'm gonna say.
But there's kids
who do mortgage up in here. You're not telling me nothing. the door might come off the hinges.
But hold on, Tracy, there's kids that do that, and there's parents that fall back.
You're right. I'm not oblivious to that. There are some parents who fear their children. I'm not the one. That's all I'm saying.
And I get it. But what I'm saying is, see, E-Man brought up a good point. He said there's a difference between fault and responsibility of what your kid do, right? E, is that what you're saying?
But that goes back to the village. If you scare your kid, then you better ask your brother or that grandfather or somebody who's not to help you.
Yeah, well, everybody don't have that.
Well,
everybody don't
be
have
that mentor. Look, it's not like it's not attainable. It is. That's where I don't give up on kids. If I can't, I'm gonna find somebody that can help me get the job done.
Well, listen,
because you're not gonna run me in my house. You can't do that.
I get it, Tracy, but I think with a lot of people,
the grill, I got a gas grill, not some slow charcoal grill, so I'm gonna burn my house down, but I'm gonna keep listening.
Shots fired, not a slow ass charcoal grill like y'all black folks.
Come on, Tracy. Come on, Tracy. You ain't grilling.
All right, y'all.
All right, G. Thank you. Oh man, Tracy was one of those we called about that welfare shit. I'm like, I know who would know. Tracy, she know all that shit about everybody's shit. And then if she didn't answer, I mean, if she didn't know, she found the answer. She knows somebody that knows somebody that.
But Tracy ain't grilling. Tracy cooking. Tracy ain't grilling. If you got ain't got charcoal and you got that electric. And how's she gonna burn the house now? You got a little burner, you turn it off. And then when you're ready to go back out there, click, 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 and you turn it back on. You ain't, it's a gas grill.
I don't know. But I mean, she brought up a couple valid points. I get it. Y'all must have thought I was saying that everything that a kid does when they make a bad decision is a parent's fault. I was talking about the things that are life damage, like a kid is skipping. You brought up skipping school. I'm not talking about the kid that skipped school. Not the kid that skipped school on Tuesday and ran with his buddies and y'all went to Eden Park and chilled all day. I'm talking about that kid. He made a bad decision. How did you know
that was where we went? How you know that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but you know, I'm not talking about that kid, E. I'm talking about the kid that skips school every day and just
I figured it out. I mean, initially, then that was why I said the difference was such a small difference that it wasn't really worth going into. And then, as you begin to expound on it, you were talking about these long-term things. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Long-term, if my kid is doing something over and over and over, and I just can't see it or don't take time out to pay enough attention to my kid, yes, I'm responsible for that. But quick question though, then in cases like that, there's always somebody who want to start charging parents for their child's criminal behavior. Are you in favor of that? Because if it's their fault and their responsibility, then shouldn't they take the responsibility of some of the sentence? Where do you fall on that?
Well, let me just say this first. I'll answer that after I make this, because I was about to make this comment, if it can come back to me. I was about to say, because I want to answer that question because that's been posed to me before and I've talked about it. But I just have a question for all the parents out here, and then I'll answer your question, I promise. Do we or do we not know what our kids are doing when it comes down to possibly illegal activity? Do we know that we had a son that's capable of carrying a gun? Do we know if we have a son that's capable, and I'm using boys as an example because that's what's going on here in this madness of the streets. Do we know if we have a child that's out here selling drugs? Do we know if we have a kid that's out here gangbanging and doing the things out in the street? As a parent, do you know? Should you know if that's, I'm not saying you stopping your kid. I'm not saying that your kid is doing these things and it's your fault. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're engaged in your child life, do you or do you not know before they even start getting in a whole bunch of trouble? Do you know if these kids are into this type of lifestyle? Do we know that?
I think you should know. I think looking back, raising my kids, I knew their personalities. I knew their personality types. I knew who seemed susceptible to certain things, and I I tried to be aware of that. There's one that I thought was, had some potential propensity towards maybe doing some criminal behavior.
Okay. Now to
So
answer your question.
yes, we know.
Okay. Yes. So to answer your question, whenever I know what my children.
Yeah, CK, hold on.
You want to take that call?
No, you go ahead and answer. We'll take CK after you answer the question.
Oh, that's my guy. That's CK. I'm Team CK. I think I'm gonna see what TK says first. But anyway, whenever our children are doing something out here, if we know what they're capable of and we're not holding that behavior, we're responsible for whatever they're doing out there. If your son is out there selling drugs, if you're not engaged in that child's life and you don't know they're out there selling drugs, that's your fault. If you know your kid is capable of being out there selling drugs and they out there selling drugs and you're not doing anything to halt that behavior, that's your fault too. So now bring my man CK on here so he can back up. If he go against what I say, I ain't messing with CK no more.
CK.
Great show, gentlemen.
Right.
You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. What's on your mind?
Man, Livingston, Wyatt, y'all doing y'all thing, man. Hey, the debate game is, the first one I heard last week, that was fine. Y'all went 1-1 against each other right there. One of y'all won, and y'all both won, or y'all both lost on them topics last week. Remember, y'all went against each other on the Cosby and the attack in the courtroom, Hamilton County.
Yeah. You
remember that?
Yeah,
my man.
CK's a big Cosby fan.
Is that what it is? But you don't have to be a fan.
I'm not a Cosby fan. That's Emmanuel. He's the Cosby fan because he got hurt about what he said about black people. I didn't give a damn about what he said about black people. But that hurt Emmanuel when he said that about black. So Emmanuel said, I don't give a damn if he raped women or not. What he said about black people is enough to get charged with rape. So, he got something personal against the bill that he split got.
Jesus. Go ahead. What's up, CK, man? So we have split.
But Wyatt, you was wrong on that attack in the courtroom now. Now as a judge, Mr. Randall, as a judge, you use your power to show mercy. You don't incarcerate that man, Mr. Wyatt. You let that man go home. You send him up there, let him cool off, and let him come on. Use your power as mercy. Do not flex on these African-American victims. He was a victim. His son was murdered.
No, I agree with you, CK. I think I agree with you, brother. What I was saying was you have to set a precedent to the public. And that is you can't let something like that go and have somebody come into the courtroom and hit a defendant that's sitting there, because if you don't do something about it, or if you don't publicize a penalty, then it's going to happen all the time. But what I also said,
that was a circumstance, Mr. Wyatt. Just treat him like he was a black. As a white father. If a white father, me being a black man, if I raped and murdered a white woman and her father punched me in the courtroom, he's not going to jail at all. They just gonna be like, hey, I understand, father. I would have did the same thing. That's all we got to do as black people. Stop understanding discipline against us. No, understand the mercy they give each other. Like when they kill Tamir Rice and they get time off with pay, treat us the same way when we whoop the ass of the killer of our son. That's all I'm saying, Mr. Wyatt.
No, I feel you. I feel you, bro. But let me stand on my circle on what I said. You got to give. You have that punishment that came. It came down on a black guy who happened to be a black parent, but it was a message sent to everybody. But let me tell you what I would have done.
I think it was sent to black fathers. I think if that son was a white victim and the father was white, I don't think he would have got punished. That's my disagreement with you on.
Okay, what I'm saying to you is this. Did you also hear what I said I would have done? You remember that?
You said you would have whooped that ass too, right?
Yeah, okay. I'm saying if I was that father, I would have did what he did, and I would have took whatever punishment would have came to me. I would have done the same thing. However, if I was the judge,
that when you said that too.
Do you know what I said? What would I have done if I was the judge? Did you hear what I said then?
You said 1 day, right? 1 day.
I said I would have gave him the 7 days and credited 6 days. Because I would have done something for that young man that would have kept him out of traffic. That young man, he was in a space in his mind that every father who got some love for their child, who was in that space, would have felt that same way. All of us would have done what he did. But there has to be a level of help for that young man too. You can't just release somebody back out in the streets who was that far removed from reality. He was gone, CK. That dude was, and I probably would have been there too. I probably would, if I would have caught his mama out in the hallway, I would have did something to his people. I would have probably done something to anybody that would have tried to stop me that didn't have no uniform on. You have to, as a judge, you have to set the precedent that this type of behavior is not going to happen in my courtroom. But at the same time, CK, what I would have done is I would have gave him the 7 days, but I also would have credited him 6 days. If you notice, he got out of jail in a couple of days. He did get out.
You're right.
So that's
what about
in jail.
What about? I agree with you, Wyatt. But what about to Emmanuel's point when he said when you see a police officer get shot and then the perpetrator come to court, he beat up, got his eye missing, got his nose broke, and there's no charges pressed against the police for police brutality. So I'm saying that's part of the game. If you kill an officer, you get your ass beat. If you kill a child, if the family get a hold of you, you get your ass beat. That's part of the game, and you know this, right? Just like when Emmanuel said that when you beat up you shoot a police officer, that police is gonna whoop your ass in the back when nobody can see, and they let you get away with it. That's part of the game.
I think I know what you're saying. I think I know what you're saying.
So if you could allow perpetrators to get their ass whooped for shooting police, can't you allow perpetrators to get their ass whooped for killing children? That's even worse than killing police.
CK, I don't think we comparing the same type of situations though, brother. I think
okay.
what happens out on the street is a street thing. But what happens inside of a courtroom is a whole different situation. I think that the judge did the right thing by giving him she could have gave him 3 days. I would have done the same thing. But you got to understand, it would have never leveled out to the full sentence. I would have gave him this to set the precedent to the public. Don't bring that book. Listen, CK, whether we know it or not, Tuesday morning, there will be a case held in one of the 510 or 525, whatever courtroom down there, where somebody got killed. There's murder cases down there every day. Just it's not high publicized, but there's murder cases in there every day. And there's people that get attacked. Okay. But you gotta, as a judge, as an officer of the court, you have to set a precedent that this is not acceptable. And if you come down here with this madness, there's gonna be penalties and repercussions to it. Now, we all understand why this happened. And every one of us would have probably done the same thing, and I'm shocked that it doesn't happen more. But at the same time, CK, I think more importantly, it was important for this young man to do 24 hours so he could possibly get the help he needed. We don't know if they gave him an evaluation. We don't know if they offered him some type of services that he wasn't aware of. That type of stuff go on down there. Go ahead.
I just don't want this man, like you said, he's at the worst part. He's so vulnerable. So when you incarcerate somebody like that, it's the suicide that we are worried about. So I think you giving this man incarceration is working against justice. So I'm saying all we got to do is let him cool off and tell him not to come back to the courtroom. But I do agree with you. Make sense. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but I just want to have a little more. Let's use our power to stop it's like, damn, as black people, let's just treat us like they treat themselves. Because when the white father attacks the perpetrator, he don't get 7 days in jail. He treated like, oh man, that's all I'm telling you. In Indianapolis, when I seen the white father do that, the judge understood. Oh man, I would have did the same. Just go home. You can't come back no more.
Let me tell you something. What I've seen in my years in the court. Now I'll leave it at this, and I appreciate your opinion and all of that. I've seen brothers. I've seen grown ass men my age who another brother then killed their son, and I seen them go off in court, and I seen them damn near rush the damn the pit over there, and I've seen the whole courtroom lose their breath because it's like this father or this mother is crying and going off on this guy who killed their son, and I've never seen any of them go to jail. And they black. I've never seen any of them go to jail because they expressed themselves in a courtroom. I've never seen any of them go to jail for damn near rushing the guy. I've seen them removed from the courtroom. So it happens to black families a lot. I understand where you're coming from.
You said they do show us mercy, Wyatt?
Yes. I'm just telling you from record of what I've seen.
I respect, absolutely, bro. But I think you're coming from a level of honor and integrity. I think both of y'all are coming from fatherhood. I respect that. And y'all coming from marriage. Y'all promoting marriage, happy marriage. None of that ball and chain stuff. So what y'all doing for the community is helping us as a whole. I just respect y'all show, and y'all just keep the fight alive, man.
CK, I appreciate your call.
I knew he was my dude. Shout out to CK. I'm Team CK.
I'm Team CK too.
All I'm saying to you, bro, is, you know what? I've been in that situation. I understand what CK is talking about. I feel him, but I think we have to understand, when he puts that emphasis of they don't do that to white people in court. I'm trying to tell you that I've seen a lot of black. See, I know some of the parents that have lost their child, and I've talked to them, and it's been senseless gun violence and all that. And they had to not only sit in the courtroom with the young man that shot and killed their son, but the parent of that kid was there too. And I've seen mothers, and I've talked to mothers that were sitting in these courtrooms by themselves. They sit in them trials day after day, and then they explode. Or they say something wrong, what we would think is wrong to somebody. And I've seen a lot of times where they have rushed the defendant, and they were just escorted out of the courtroom. So CK, you my guy and all, but when you say that they do us wrong in that case, I've been witness in many judges' courtroom where this same thing happened. And the brother or the sister, whoever rushed, was removed from the courtroom, and sometimes was allowed to come back, and then most of the time they were not allowed to come back. But when you catch something on video of a young man swinging and causing that much chaos in a courtroom, having that many officers, and like I said, it would have been me too, E. If it was my daughter that young man did that to, and my son or whatever, I would have took whatever consequences was coming my way, because I'm never going to do enough to go to where he's going. He's going to the penitentiary. So my only chance at doing something to him is probably right then and there. Okay. So I probably would have took my shot too. But in doing that, I would have known that there was consequences and repercussions to my actions, and I would have did it. I would have took the chance. But they probably gave him some help. They did him more service than they did him disservice.
Hopefully they gave him some help, connected him with some services. Hopefully that happened.
I hope so too, bro. I don't smell no ribs.
You ain't out there on your fake grill.
Oh, my wife is about to have a cow. She's about to trip out on me, because I told her, I said, hey, babe, we only gonna be on an hour. It's the 4th of July. I said, it's the 4th of July. Ain't nobody gonna be on here listening to us, man. They ain't rocking with us, man. They drinking their little wine coolers and all that wherever they at. They about to sit up. They sitting up, feeling real good. They ain't gonna want to hear nothing about what we talking about.
Yeah, I did not tell Mrs. Livingston that I would only be on here for an hour. I wasn't about to make that mistake.
Well, I this is new for me. This show is new, and I think my wife is used to it by now because on Wyatt-Live, I always tell the people coming on, I say, "Hey, short show today," and it ended up being, probably one of the longer ones of the month or something. I don't know, but
shame on you. I never do that.
but my wife is used to it. When I say, "Oh, I'm gonna go down," I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna give a show about an hour. Give me an hour and a half or whatever max, and then I come on the air. Short show today. I got shit to do, and it turned out being 2 hours, 2.5, something like that. But you just never know. Anyway, man, what else, man? Anything else before we get out of here?
No, nothing else. It's we've been here for a few minutes. I'm gonna go and enjoy the rest of this holiday. Hang out with Mrs. Livingston, begin to pull this bike apart. And yeah. Well, that's it. That's it.
How much? What's your expectations on having the bike done? What's your time frame?
Well, only because I'll be out of town next week. I'm not counting that, but I would say, if I get back? I'm probably not going to work on it because I'll probably be tired, flight and all of that kind of stuff. So, all right, this week is a no go. I mean, I got today, but then I'll be out. The next week, no. So in 3 weeks, that bike could be running.
Okay, that's fair. That'll leave you about 45 days left of summer.
But it'd be good and warm and hot well into September and sometimes even into October. So
okay,
I'll get me some ride time on it.
Well, you better hurry up and get that thing going, man, because gas ain't going nowhere. The high price of gas is stuck. It's there. I mean, we got a little relief. I think we're becoming what you call conditioned, where you think 450, 469 is good. You know what I mean? And that's just ridiculous. But I think.
But do you agree with the Biden administration that these gas companies are taking advantage of the situation and just keeping these prices artificially inflated? Or do you agree with Jeff Bezos that, hey, this is just the nature of the market? And if you think just because the price of a barrel of oil has come down, the price of a gallon of gas should come down, then you don't understand the market.
That's a touchy subject for me because I know a little bit more about that situation as far as what determines the price of gas. And I don't agree with, I think Biden made a huge mistake the other day when he gave a press conference, and he not only said that the oil companies were gouging, he said that the gas stations themselves were gouging. And when you hear someone say that, who understands how the gas program actually functions, I think Biden is out of touch. I don't think he has an understanding of what the economics of oil industry. I just don't think he understands. And the reason why I say that is because gas stations, 37% of them, of the small mom and pop shops have gone out of business in America since the the pandemic. That's a huge number. And that number is continuously growing. And it's not because they're not going out of business because they're gouging. They're going out of business because people can't afford to buy the gas at high levels anymore. Oil companies may make some money, but when you start blaming local gas stations for gouging, that makes no sense to me, E, because on the average, gas stations make anywhere from 5 cents to 7 cents per gallon. That's what they're charged. I mean, that's what they're paid. And I don't understand why he thinks that these companies are gouging, but yet they're going out of business. It makes no sense to me.
So it's fair to say that you don't agree with him about the gas stations, but what about the oil companies?
Well, you can't make a statement like that and make it make sense if you're wrong about half of it. To me, it just doesn't make any sense when you say that, E-Man, I don't mean you in particular, but hey, Ron, you got to stop cheating on your wife. And then they say shit like, you know, maybe I shouldn't use this scenario. I'll just use the gas station. My apologies, folks. You can't say that the oil companies are part of the problem and the gas stations. When you blame the gas stations, that let me know that you probably don't know what's going on with the oil companies either. The reason why I feel the way I feel is because I know what's causing the problem in the gas uprich in America. And it has been so disingenuous that I just don't like talking about it, because most people who may not look at it for what it really is, they may have bought Biden's excuse, his bullshit. And I'm not buying the fact that you got 9,000 leases out there, but a lot of people don't understand there's so much other stuff that's involved other than just leases. And we got to get past that first. I can't be the guy to educate everybody on this thing. It's like you're going to give all these leases, but yet you have the banks that finance these companies, these oil companies. You have those under so much scrutiny that these banks won't even loan the oil companies money. So there's so many restrictions on the oil companies that it's hard for them to move at full max. Most of them are at 95% maximum of putting oil and gas out. But yet that doesn't mean that they're putting enough out for us. That shows you that there's a strain on what they're doing. If all the things that they have, if all the leases that they have, if they're at 95% usage, that means gas would be cheaper if they were utilizing every aspect of what they have to drill with. You would think that it would stay on schedule of being cheaper. But if you're limited on how much usage that you have, just those that have been regulated, 95% of those that have been regulated are at full blast. They're at full blast. They're at 95% capacity. That just doesn't add up to me when you do the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, and I'm saying to myself that if they gave you 9,000 leases and all of them were functional, that you could be able to do what needs to be done in America to get this gas down. I'm saying they got 9,000 leases. I know for a fact that 2,300 of those 9,000 are in litigation against the government, have them in litigation right now in the courts. So that's not even a fair 9,000 leases. Ask the president and ask this administration, what are those 2,300 leases in litigation for? It has nothing to do with the lease. It's the properties that come with the lease, the things that you have to be approved to be able to do, the surveying, the other thing. There's a lot that goes into it. The simple answer is y'all got 9,000 leases, so go drill. The complicated answer is explaining everybody that it's more to it than just the leases. When the richest men in the world come out and say something against Joe Biden, who's actually supported him through all of this up until now, when he makes these ridiculous statements, you have to pay attention to that. You have to just pay attention to it. And it's not because they're making billions of dollars off the oil industry. Jeff Bezos is not in the oil business, but he understands that what the breakdown of what Biden said was truly ridiculous. So he called him out on it.
All right. Look, I don't understand the oil industry like that. It seemed like simple math to me. If you paying less for the raw product, then the finished product with all your other costs fixed should come down as well. But again, you talking about leases and all the options and all that kind of stuff. I don't know much about the oil business. So I can't really say.
I understand, but see, what happens is sometimes people use simplicities to keep it real simple, but that's not always the answer. And when it's easy to say, okay, we then went from it's Putin's price hike. Okay, we then went from it's Putin's fault for the war to now it's the gas companies that are gouging us. I mean, bro.
But again, what Biden said, or at least what the administration is saying, is that if the price has significantly been reduced for the raw product and your other costs, the refinement process is the same, we should see some relief at the pump. And if we're not seeing relief at the pump, you getting relief buying the raw product. Why are you not passing those savings on to the consumer? That's what they're saying. And again, I don't really, get down with the oil industry like that. So I don't know.
Well, let me address something that I see Brett said. He said the oil industry has been making record-breaking profits every quarter for the last 3 quarters. I say to you, when you say profits, you also have to look at the fact, if I go get a loan from Fifth Third Bank for $10 million for whatever reason, for a business venture, I took a loan out. I owe them interest on $10 million, right? Is it fair to say that if I took my own $10 million and did that same business, would I make more profit if I cut the bank out? Is it fair to say that I would profit more if the bank wasn't there for me? Because now I don't have the cost of doing business with the bank. Has anyone ever thought about the fact that they can't use banks anymore to finance their drilling and finance things? They have to use their own capital. So that allows you to make more capital because now you don't have a higher cost of doing business. So you got to understand, these are things that people are led you to believe that they're doing higher profits because it has to be reported of the profits that are being made. Or
then the question would be, what I would have to ask you then, when did it get to a point where they weren't allowed to do business with the banks?
That's part of the policies in Joe Biden's policy process. When he came in, I've showed a video of this. When he was running the debate against Bernie Sanders asked him a question truly on energy. And I wish I had the video. I probably do. It'll take me a minute to find it. I put it up on my Facebook page, anybody that wants to see it. In a debate, Joe Biden clearly says in the debate, there's no mistake in this. He says, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to end fracking. I'm going to end drilling. I'm going to end all that dirty stuff that the oils are doing in America. I'm going to end it. And what he said by that is he's going to kill the subsidies, okay? Which means they're not going to be able to get any of the government subsidies. They're not going to have the advantages of being able to do the business in America like they were doing. That's part of the process. He was going to make it very difficult for them in those lease processes, which means the ability to get your surveying done. All the things that were going to make the industry use their own money and take the chance and make it not viable for them to do business the way they've been doing business. So when you do those type of things, if you're affecting somebody's way of doing business, they may just shut down and stop doing so much business. When that happens, the price of things go down because you're not producing enough. And when they say that they have all these leases and then they say that they're utilizing 95% of their potential, that don't mean that 95% is of what they have already been doing. They've been reduced down, and those particular drills have been pushing out they're at 95% capacity. If they had 95% capacity on this many drills, on that many drills, they would be producing more. They would make more money. If they have this many, they don't have as much production coming out of there. I just don't understand. I mean, I get it, but I've seen too many people being misled. And it's when somebody gives you a simple answer to a complicated situation, I question if they really know what's going on. I just question it. And when you blame companies, when you blame gas stations for gouging, not gas companies, bro, I clearly heard him say it. I was listening to the thing myself, and I said, well, that's going to shoot down this whole situation right now. This is going to shoot down the whole city. When you blame because barrels of oil are going down, but it doesn't reflect at the gas station right away. That's not how that works anyway. They're still trying to get rid of some of the gas that's sold at a certain barrel. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I sold you a car. I sold you a pack of cookies that had a 12-pack. You paid $4 for that box. So you're getting $25 a pack, or I'm sorry, 50 cents a pack. Because now you're buying them at $3 a box, don't mean that you can now start selling the ones that you paid $4 a box for the same price that you paid for the $3 box.
So you seem to believe, and this is a question, you seem to believe that the oil companies are functioning in good faith. They are not stocking up profits, and they're not price gouging, taking advantage of a situation just because they can. You seem to believe, look, it's good faith, and when they can bring the prices down, they will bring the prices down, because they're not necessarily about making money. They're about providing this resource that we need, or that we use to function.
No, I will say this to you, and I would be, if I was the CEO of an oil rig company, if I was the CEO, I would shove it to Biden's ass as well, because he's doing everything in the world to prevent them from doing business. So I'm going to keep my margins, regardless of what America wants to happen. I'm going to keep my margins the way they need to be for me to function as a company. And unfortunately, it is going to hurt Americans. But you got to understand, they're not hurting Americans because they are doing this with malice. They have a certain standard that they have to keep up in business, okay, in order for them to function and do what they do: pay salaries, pay people for working, pay their social securities out, pay the 401ks, everything that keeps them afloat as a company. But you got to understand this, bro. Biden and them is making it more expensive for them to do work. And they're doing that on purpose. So if you're going to do that to my business on purpose as a CEO, why would I cut you slack on anything when you are trying to purposely hurt my business? Why would I show love for you? Let's keep it to the streets. Why would I cut somebody some slack or some love on a price on something out here, but you trying to do me in, you trying to get rid of me? I'm gonna sell it to you what I normally sell it to you for all the time, because you're trying to get rid of me. Here's my question to anybody that wants to back up whatever Biden is talking about. Biden made all those comments about the CEOs and how much profit they making and how they gouging. He made all those comments, right? He wrote all those companies a letter, right? Y'all know that, right? He wrote a letter to these CEOs and to these drilling companies and he wrote a letter, and then he went public with it. My question to you, Mr. Biden, Mr. President Biden, is, when the CEO showed up at the White House, or showed up in Washington, D.C. to have that meeting, why did you choose to go to a separate meeting if you're doing everything, if what you're doing is real? You chose to go to an energy windmill meeting instead of going to the meeting that brought all those CEOs in one room. Why didn't he go to that meeting the same day, in the same city? He could have sat down right there. He could have been photo opt. He could have did anything he wanted to do to make it look like he was doing the right thing. The reason why he didn't go to that meeting is because he can't answer the questions. He would have been held accountable for the shit that he did. Why didn't he go to the meeting?
Or if he would have gone to that meeting, people like Wyatt would be saying, he don't really care about this stuff. He met with those guys. He was in the room with those guys. He's in cahoots with those guys. They all on the same team. So nope, I think in that case, he would have, it was, potentially a lose-lose.
Nope. I would have said.
Look, he's taking photos with them. He think they so bad and so evil, but you see him sitting there taking photos with the guys that he's claiming to be evil guys.
No, I wouldn't. I'm glad you're a mind reader now. I wouldn't have thought that. I would have said to myself, maybe they're going to come to some type of medium. I would have said maybe Biden's coming in there to restrict some of the rules and laws that have been put on these oil companies. And maybe he's willing to give a little bit. But it seems like when I put that video out of exactly what Biden said he was going to do when he got in office, when it came to drilling and energy, that video didn't get any traction at all. And it's not like I manufactured it. It was on a CNN debate. It was said in broad daylight. I didn't sneak this I didn't crop it and put these words in his mouth. It's funny how that right there explains exactly what he's doing right now. He said, I'm going to shut him down.
But so when the prices come down even more, you believe the oil companies are honorable and they won't gouge for profits?
I don't see, you got to understand, E, you got to understand, bro. I was ahead of this before it even got this bad. I did a show a long time ago, E, when he was on the borders of Ukraine before he invaded. And any Wyatt listener on here, the few that may be on here, will tell you, I said exactly what's going on right now. I said, this is what's going to happen. I said, that's Biden's right there. That 150,000 Russians that are about to invade Ukraine. I said, that's his out right there. I said, they're going to use that opportunity to blame high prices of gas on Putin. Gas was already going up, mind you. Someone said that I'm narrow-minded. Okay, that's cool. I'm narrow-minded because of my knowledge. I'm not speaking from an opinionated position. I'm speaking from the knowledge that I have of this situation. I know what causes prices to go up. I know when you reduce a person's chance of doing services, that if they stay at their same profit margin, or if they stay at their margins, that it will allow them to make a higher percentage, not necessarily more money, but if you're doing less business but charging the same amount of money, you can sometimes make more money because of so many other factors. Okay, there's so many factors involved in doing business that if you narrow down how much business you're doing, but you stay at the same profit margin, you can actually profit more, even when there's somebody hampering your position or hampering whatever you need to do. It happens all the time. But I don't understand why, who is this? Michael? Michael said, Wyatt, you're narrow-minded sometimes. In this case, how? What am I saying? Am I saying something wrong based on misinformation? I mean, I can be wrong, but this is numbers. This is math. This is a process. This is what I understand. Or am I supposed to just believe Biden because he makes a misrepresentation of what's going on out here? Now I'm supposed to just ride with him on it? I'm paying $5 a gallon too.
So you don't believe. And again, I want to be clear. I've not studied how the gas companies and the oil companies function and how they set prices and all of that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily stay up on how much a barrel of oil is. I don't stay up on that. And so that's why I'm not doing a whole lot of talking. I defer to you. You have the knowledge of it, so I'm listening to you. But what's bothering me, early on you said this might be some conditioning to get us to the point where, $4.50 is a great price now. And that says to me that there is a plan in place. But at the same time, you kind of saying, which is why I keep asking, because I don't want to say you're saying something that you're not saying. You're kind of saying, like, look, the oil companies are honorable. And this is the way that business is done. They're not doing anything untowards, and they're not price gouging. This is just straight up business on the level. So are they trying to condition us for high gas prices that they're never going to bring down past a certain point to inflate their profits? Or are they just, hey, this is just business? Or, of course, you also said, this is kind of a little bit of a jab at Biden, like, you coming for us, so we gonna come for you. And, it's kind of, I don't know that it can be all three of those things at the same time. And because you have this knowledge, I'm just trying to understand.
It could be, though, E. I mean, you brought up great points. It could be. I'm telling you that if you have somebody that's purposely trying to take you out of business, but yet what you're providing, okay, let's say you're a drug company that has
wait. Hold on, before you go further. So you are of the belief that what Joe Biden is trying to do, he's not trying to rein in these companies and say, don't do damage to the planet and, all of the other things that the evil oil companies are accused of. You believe he's actually trying to put the oil business out of business?
Yes. I mean, I'm not saying that because that's how I feel. I wouldn't say that he's doing that if I didn't know. I'm saying it because he said it in a debate if he won the presidency. Man, if I could find this video, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. His job, he said it with Bernie Sanders. Hold on one second. Let me see if I could.
Because I know a lot of big companies will say regulation, and anybody who tries to regulate, like I could see, remember I talked about the iPhone and the different things over in the European Union. I could see the Apple saying, wait a minute, we don't do USB-C connectors. And so them saying that we all have to have one connector, them trying to regulate us, is them trying to put us out of the phone making business, because nobody wants to be regulated. Everybody wants to do whatever it is that they want to do. So to say he's trying to regulate what we do and equate that with trying to completely end the not just put us out of business, but completely end this entire industry, I don't know that I buy into that.
I understand. Then do you know his huge supporters were the green people of this planet? You know, they call them the green people. So hold on, let me see if I can. I'm still trying to find that video, brother. I'm sorry about that.
But wanting to go green is not necessarily wanting to put the oil companies out of business. I mean, if you're looking at it and you're saying this is not good for the planet, this is better for the planet, so let's move to what's better for the planet, there are still going to be a whole lot more things. Gas ain't the only thing that's made with oil. So you're not trying to put the stop oil, period. You're saying we can move to different types of energy. Oil, that's not the only thing oil is used for, is energy. So to say he's trying to put the oil companies out of business sounds a lot.
Well, when you're doing certain things to enable their business, what are you doing? That goes for anybody. If I'm slowing your progress up, or if I'm cutting into your profits, or if I'm doing certain things, what am I just slowing you down, or am I trying to hinder your business? I mean, to me,
maybe neither. If and again, you know this stuff, I don't. But if I'm saying to you, look, what you're doing is hurting people. The way that you're doing it is hurting people. So just figure out a different or a better way to do it. That's not necessarily me trying to put you out of business. That's me trying to say, ain't it a way that you can do business, but not hurt people?
So what other way do you want these drilling companies to do business based on that principle, based on what you're saying there? What else did he expect them to do? This is what they do. You can't. They're not in the windmill energy business. They're not in the electric business. They're in the drilling business. So what other way of business could he even be trying to get them to do?
Well, again, I don't have all the specifics, but
that's what they do, bro. I mean,
hold on, but there are you can't convince me, because I watch a number of different. I watched a documentary on fracking, where I'm sure it was slanted one way. I don't ever believe any of this stuff is not slanted. Any articles I read, any documentaries that I watch, it's all slanted to the mindset of whoever made it. But they are doing some environmental damage, and it might cost them a little more to do it a safer way. But when you're not doing it the safest way possible, that still don't mean I'm trying to put you out of business. Yeah, it might cut into your profits to do it safer, but that don't mean I'm trying to put you out of business. When the one documentary I was watching, and I don't remember all of the details about how it did, but there was a city where I guess the oil had leached, either gas or I don't remember which, had leached into the people's soil, and there was a dude who was like legit setting his tap water on fire coming straight out the tap. Mm-hmm. And if I'm saying to you, like, hey, bro, he could set his water on fire coming out the tap, can you not create situations where people can set their tap water on fire coming out the tap. Oh, now you're trying to put me out of business. I'm not trying to put you out of business. I just don't want people to be drinking flammable water straight from the tap.
Let me try to see if I can play this video real fast. I found this video. Let me see if I can get it in.
Is an issue of enormous consequence. What Joe was saying goes nowhere near enough. It's not a question of money. Give me a minute. We have time to talk about this. This is a world-shaking event. I just want to give him a chance to respond. Let's stay on. We're staying on this issue.
Number one, no more subsidies for fossil fuel industry. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill. Ends. Number one.
Someone just said it was echoing. Let me play that again. Email. Let me play that again and I'll cut my mic off because it's a double thing.
Is an issue of enormous consequence. What Joe was saying goes nowhere near enough. It's not a question of money. Give me a minute here. We have time to talk about this. This is a world-shaking event. I understand. I just want to give him a chance to respond, and then we can come back. Let's stay on. We're staying on this issue.
Number one, no more subsidies for fossil fuel industry. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill. Period. Ends. Number one.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just hit it again. It takes policies for what he just said to happen. What he just described is what he was planning on doing. That was a debate. That was a Democratic debate against Bernie Sanders. And he was, Bernie Sanders is for the green life and he's an energy dude. What Biden was telling his audience is, I got this handled too. You're trying to tell me I'm not going to take care of the earth and I'm not going to do what needs to be done. Well, what he did is he made that promise right there in a debate. When you say no more fracking, when you say no more drilling on foreign land, when you say no more subsidies for the oil companies, you're basically showing them these are the things that I'm going to do to pretty much offset their business and stop them from doing what needs to be done. Listen, let me just explain something to folks. I have no problem with these things. I just have a problem with them happening now because of the war in Russia and because of some other things that play a major factor that's going to make us buy oil and things of that nature from other places. Oh, shit. Damn, my mic was off. Why you say something?
I heard
you could hear me? Yeah, you could, but people probably couldn't. I don't know why. I don't know. I guess people could hear me. I thought my mic was off. My bad. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, why would he make that announcement in a debate like that if that wasn't what he was going to do? Somebody, they say they heard me. I'm sorry, guys. I thought I was off. That was him making his promise of what he was going to do to the oil and gas industry once he got in office. And when you make those type of promises, you have to deliver. And what happens is this. He created barriers for companies that we are now blaming are gouging us. He created barriers for them to do business soon as he got in the office. Subsidies meaning banking opportunities. Subsidies don't mean government money. It don't mean they were welfaring oil and gas. It don't mean that at all.
Hey, Wyatt, I got a call. You want to finish what you're saying and then we grab this call?
No, go ahead.
All right. Caller?
Hey,
welcome to the welcome to the King and I podcast. It's just a habit. What's your name?
Hey, this is Brian.
Brian. Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, man? So I want to start by saying I don't support either party. I think they both, they're not the same. But I think at the end of the day, they both support big business over the interests of regular people. But I wanted to chime in on this thing because I feel like we can't have a real discussion and debate until we pull apart some of this stuff. So that
clip that Wyatt is showing about what Biden said in that debate. The problem with that is, if you understand the context of the moment of that debate, you know that that's Biden trying to grab Bernie bro votes by claiming that now he's going to somehow play a role in helping the environment. He was against the Green New Deal, which to me, I say so-called Green New Deal because it wasn't, even Bernie's proposals weren't, if you really broke them down, gonna make huge chunks into the environmental question, though it would change the type of energy or build a road towards changing the type of energy that America uses. But it was the sound bite from Biden is completely in the context of that debate, where he's trying to sound more left-leaning, when his entire campaign was directly rejecting any environmental questions until it got down to the one-on-one with Bernie. You could find sound bites that were dead, in favor of the energy bosses if you went a couple of months before that. So we should just stop with that. Just stop. It's maybe you mean it, but that's not how, that's the context. If you understand the context, it ruins the argument you're trying to make. Just like if two Republicans.
Sorry about that. I actually watched that debate. I know what context you're talking about, but what does it say to you that somebody would say what they're going to do, regardless of the context? Did he not make that commitment?
These presidential debates are trash, is what it says to me.
Well, wait a minute. Did he not make that commitment?
Just hear out this one example and see if you agree with me. If you have two Republicans, okay, and one of the Republicans, let's say, is pro-choice, and they said they've been pro-choice, they've been an example of a pro-choice Republican for their whole campaign, but then they face off with but they're conservative on all kinds of other issues, and they're like one of the leading candidates. But then their opponent, when it gets down to the end, is pro-life. And he's deciding, I'm going to smack you in the face with this pro-life stuff because I know it's going to win voters away from you. Then that pro-choice Republican candidate will start to backpedal and give concessions to the idea of pro-life. That's how they do. That's how these campaigns work. When they get down head to head, they try to close the gap of the thing that makes them sound less attractive than the other candidate. And that's all it was in Biden's case, was him trying to sound more like Bernie. So that's all. Oh, okay. That's literally the sum total.
So he didn't really mean what he said. He just said it just to be kind of in the circle of Bernie's crowd. He didn't mean that he would do any of that stuff.
Sorry, say again?
No, I'm saying when he made those comments during that debate, he didn't mean it. He just said it just to be in the circle of Bernie Sanders and his crew. He was trying to steal his voters. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying by and large, that's what he was trying to do. And that the left-leaning...
But here's the consistency. Here's the consistency in what he says and what's actually happening to those same people that he said that if somebody is saying that if I ever get a job at nighttime, I'm going to be a killer if I get that job at night, and people start coming up dead at nighttime, who you going to look at as being a high suspect for people showing up dead at nighttime during that work over in that work site? Wouldn't you look at the person that made the open admission of what they were going to do if they got that job?
Well, that's a great example, because I would if that's what happened in a vacuum. But if I knew that there were other employees, like a small group of other employees who also the whole time were talking about how they were going to kill people at night, then that's the one person they were going to do it. But that's what's happening. That's a perfect example, because
that's not the case.
Even though
the person who said what they were going to do is in charge to do that. No one else can do that to those folks.
Well, while Biden barked a lot in that last debate with Bernie Sanders, the fact of the matter is there's a minority layer of Democrats who are in office who do subscribe to the Green New Deal and do subscribe to making policies that are confrontational towards oil companies and people who, skirt over environmental regulations. Now, at the same time, you have the Supreme Court that just made some rulings that make it easier for companies to do dirty business. So that's what they do.
Well,
that's the only thing.
Okay, I need to stay on, because I just used your example. I mean, Biden, that clip there is a smoking gun, whether people want to admit it or not. He had even at that group.
I'm saying this to you. You didn't mention this in your remarks. Are you saying that you believe that Biden made this statement and it was in a vacuum, and that there aren't all kinds of small minority of Democrats who are pushing for this same policy and have been, who were in office before the election, that they're not part of doing it?
They can't push. Yes, but they can't push anything through. They can't make it happen legislatively without him. He has to oversee everything that's going on. I'm sorry.
Of course they can.
Well,
of course they can.
First of all, don't you he would admit? Well, let me ask you this, because that's a fair statement. But let me ask you this: why didn't he go to the meeting of the CEOs that he called to the table? Why was he so reluctant to show up for that meeting? What was more important than Americans paying this high gas and going in front of these CEOs to prove to America that he's doing everything that he possibly can do to get those CEOs that's gouging us? Why wouldn't he go to a meeting of his accusers? Who don't go to court? Who don't show up to face the people they're accusing?
Okay, that's a fair question, and here's my answer. And it goes back to what I said at the very beginning. The reasons I said what I said about Biden's proclamations in that debate is not because I support Biden or think that he has the best interest of either side in mind. I believe that at the end of the day, it wasn't convenient for him to have to put his words and deeds together, because they don't go together. So I think it was probably a strategic move to not be in that meeting and not have to take a clear stance, and instead, be able to sit kind of, tip where things are more favorable based on what comes out of that and based on what public opinion is. It's a tactical move. It's not because he's a champion of either side. He simply rides the side of the boat furthest away from the water.
No, with all due respect, bro, I can tell you're a very intelligent person, but that sounds like a unbelievably ridiculous excuse that you would try to give for the president not to go into a meeting of his own accusers. And he didn't have a problem putting all these people on blast and saying it's their fault, their fault, their fault. But then he wants to show leverage by not going to a meeting that he called of these CEOs and confront his accusers.
You're missing my point, Wyatt. I'm agreeing with you on this particular question. He's not a hero.
It didn't start out that way. My apologies, brother. I kind of was listening different, I think.
He's not a hero of the things he's standing up for. That's what I'm saying. It's rhetoric. That's why he didn't go. If he was a champion of these things and was fighting for these things, it may have made more sense to be the champion and whatever, make a scene, make a splash, and further push the needle towards what his proclamations were in that debate with Bernie or whatever. But that's not what he's trying to do. It's all lip service, games, and posturing, is my opinion. And while I didn't agree with what you said about those clips, I think those clips were because he was trying to debate and be with Bernie. I think by the same token, him not doubling down on the comments that he said is because these are feathers in the wind, is what these politicians are.
Well,
and
let me say this to you, bro. Can I get his name again?
Brian.
What's your name again? Brian?
Right.
Great, Brian. Let me just say this to you, bro. I'm going to bring it to a level of how some of us have to take it. This is what happened. Biden, I'm going to bring it to the level of to the dudes that we cool with. Biden basically got bit in his ass for for talking behind somebody's back in public. And then when they came to confront him, he didn't show up because he didn't have the answers. He was not going to be able to show the people the things that he was saying about these CEOs and oil companies and the gouging. He couldn't prove it. They had their documentation there to show 2,300 oil drilling wells are in litigation right now. Here are the subsidy restrictions you're giving us. It's the order from the White House. It's the order from your party who is preventing us from doing what we need to do in order to be at our full capacity and lower the prices of gas. And it was a slap in the face for him to blame. It went from Putin's gas hike to now it's the gas oil companies. And then he even went as low, Brian, to blame the gas stations themselves, bro. And you're looking at 20, I'm sorry, I said 37%. It's 27% of gas stations in this country have closed due to lack of business. That doesn't sound like somebody's that's gouging. It don't sound that way. And these are mom and pop shops. And if somebody says something about you, Brian, on TV or on a podcast, and we were all set to meet and have a discussion in a closed room, if they said all those things about you, bro, and then they didn't show up and you were there to defend yourself, I think I would have a problem with the person that said all those things about
you. Hey, respect, man. I think,
Brian, I appreciate you, bro. I understood where he was coming from, when he said the soundbite, the clip. Yes, he's absolutely right. But don't make those type of threats openly. And then when somebody comes up missing or dead based on a threat, then who's our prime suspect? The person that made those admissions before, right in broad daylight.
You frustrate me when you do stuff like this.
What?
Because I made that point about Bill Cosby, and you told me that point didn't make sense. If you admit to something in broad daylight, and then you're accused of doing what you admitted to doing, then you become and you told me that was crazy. Oh, you frustrated me.
Yeah. It is crazy because you have to understand these are two different things. Bill Cosby admitted to something that you truly don't know what he admitted to. He admitted to drug use. He admitted that there was
that wasn't what I was talking about, but Joe Biden admitted to something that he don't even believe. I think that was, that was the point. Like, he's just saying that. He don't believe that. He don't intend on doing that. He just talking.
No, that's not true. Not only did he believe that he had to do that, a huge part of his people that followed him in his vote, his backers believe that. And that's how he was able to be so successful. It's because it's the people you owe down to, That's the big thing in politicians and how you get your money. Once you get into place, now you owe down. You owe these people that supported you. And the easiest thing that he did was sign executive orders and do things to put himself in a position to look like he was paying those people back. And the first thing he did was make it tough on oil companies. Facts. Putin, bro, gas was going up before that war started.
Again, I'm not saying one way or the other. Somebody just said I'm making excuses. I haven't made any excuses. All I've said is I'm not that plugged into it to even understand how it's going down. I was just asking the simple question.
You see how Brian kind of went. It started strong, but then I'm only speaking from a factual position. These are not my opinions. My opinions are based off of these facts. That's it. I'm not sitting here making up what Joe Biden said. I'm not speaking from a point of view of what I think he did. I'm telling you that this man made an absolute promise on the air in a debate. He also made a promise he made a promise during a debate when Kamala Harris asked him, so what you saying, Joe? You're saying you're going to have a female as a vice president? And she backed him in a corner. And he said, well, yes. Once he made that commitment of making a female as his vice president, because that was checking the box. It was that the females up on the podium that was running for president were more intelligent or smarter or had better policies. He just played the game. He played the game, and Kamala Harris put him in that position of, oh, what's better than to just have a female, a black female?
And that's what Brian, at least with my perception, that's what Brian was saying. The same thing happened.
Yes, and what did he do?
He put himself in a box, and then so he had to follow through to some degree. Again, my question, my only question is,
Joe Biden is not a liar when it comes down to commitments, man. He's not a liar at that aspect. He said, yes, I'm gonna have a female. My bad. Go ahead.
It's all right. My only question to you, because you seem to believe in, that these huge oil companies are some huge honorable entities. And I'm saying, can't it all be true? Can't they be price gouging and doing things to inflate their profits? Maybe in part because of something Biden said and or did, but just because they're greedy oil companies.
Well, no, because look, you got to look at it like this. I mean, anything is possible. But what I'm saying to you is, if somebody's keeping you, if they're preventing you from doing business, why would I go out of my way to make everything else convenient, not only for them, but the people that are also making it inconvenience for me? Why would I do that as a businessman?
But they're doing business. They're doing hella business. It's not like
Joe Biden think they make more money now? You think they making more money now than if they were able to drill and provide gas at $3 a gallon for everybody, or $2.80 a gallon? Don't you think just because the gas is higher?
No, here's what I think. If they could do all of that drilling in this same environment, it wouldn't be $3.80 or $2.80 a gallon. It would still be $4.80 a gallon, because they're greedy. And they don't care about what Joe Biden said. They don't care about no debate. They're greedy oil companies. And if the environment is such that they can increase the price to $10 a gallon, that's what greedy oil companies or any greedy company would do. So you believe that they just want to serve the people. I believe it's an industry and they want to make as much money as possible. You believe let them drill and then that'll bring the price down. I say you let them drill, that still probably won't bring the price down significantly, because they don't care about how the people have to deal with and pay $5 a gallon or $6 or $7 or $8 or $10 a gallon for gas. If they're making money, that's all they care about.
So why didn't they do that prior?
Because the environment, just like you said, Joe Biden is going to use the Ukrainian war as an excuse. Don't you think that the people would, I know this.
Because
if I'm selling a product, if I'm selling water, right? And then I hear that there's some hindrance that people ain't going to be able to, something that I can use as an excuse to say, you know what? There ain't going to be that much water out there. Well, it probably is still going to be that much water out there, but people believe that that's going to make a water shortage. So guess what? Instead of selling you water for $1, I'm going to sell it to you for $2. Well, why would you do that? Because they believe it's going to be a shortage. And then guess what? If I can boost it to $3, but it's not a water shortage anymore, but people still believe it's a water shortage. So now I can sell it for $3 because I'm greedy. I'm greedy.
You have to understand, what you just described is exactly how companies go out of business, by gouging when not necessary, or gouging or over abusing a gouge situation on something like a gas or a water or something of that nature, because people will use alternative measures.
What's the alternative measure to gas?
First of all, the government, if that was the case, the government would come in with so many restrictions, and the offshore drilling in the other countries that you can buy gas and reserves in your own country would all kick in. You cannot overpower the government like Biden is saying that these companies are doing, and not have some type of form of penalty toward these companies. It's impossible. The simple fact, I'll leave this right here, bro. I got to go. The simple fact that Biden didn't show up to face his accusers, simply explains everything that I need to know. And I have never seen somebody not show up after saying all that stuff about them and
he didn't even
bring a
believe it.
folder. I'm sorry?
If he didn't believe it, if I talk stuff about you because that's what I think the people want to hear. So I say Wyatt is no good, Wyatt's a liar, Wyatt's a cheater, Wyatt's a this, Wyatt's a that. But I don't really believe that. But it's what the people want to hear. So I'm going to say it. And then you come to confront me. I might not meet with you because guess what? And I ain't really believe that stuff. I just said it because I didn't really believe it. And you like, man, why you say all that stuff about me? I'm not walking in that room. He mad. And I said some stuff that I might not be able to back up. I didn't mean it. So that'd be a great reason to not show up.
So that's exactly why I'm saying he's lying about what he's talking about. Because of what you just said.
I'm not, and again, I'm not saying one way or the other.
I don't even have to say anything after that.
I just don't believe in that these oil companies have so much honor. And as long as the situation, as long as the situation is such, like you said earlier on, if they can get us to the point where we think 455 is cheap gas, you'll never see gas go below 455 because that's what we've conditioned them to believe is cheap.
E-Man, let me explain something to you, bro. If you want gas to go back down to $2.50 or $3 a gallon, it could go down. All you got to do is go to Saudi Arabia and all these other countries. You can make that happen. You don't have to use American oil and gas. You don't have to make that happen. You don't necessarily need these guys. If they're gouging you so bad, where's your alternative choices?
There are no alternative choices.
Yes, there are. Yes,
I can't go to Saudi Arabia and get a gallon of gas, bro. I don't have an alternative. I can go to Shell right over here. I can go to Marathon right over here. I can go to UDF right down here. I don't have no alternative.
I'm not saying get in your jet and go to Saudi Arabia. I'm saying the American government. They're going to Saudi Arabia in less than 30 days to try to buy oil. I'm talking about the American
people.
No, I'm talking about America. The country is going to end up buying gas from Saudi Arabia because Biden can't back down and release some of the restrictions that he has on his own oil companies.
Well, and see, I don't know. I personally believe, based on no facts, I believe most corporations only care about money. They don't care about doing what's right and what's wrong. And I personally believe that the government, including Joe Biden, is going to support big business because he's going to get money from big business from supporting them. So they're not, like you said, if he gets backed into some sort of a corner where he has to do something then maybe he'll, like you said, go to Saudi Arabia and try to do something like that. But other than that, he'll let this ride for as long as he wants. He don't care about this battle. He don't care about this fight.
Where is Biden?
Because he know when all is said and done, big oil, they still gonna contribute to him, and he gonna get campaign money and all the other perks that come with being in the pocket of big business. Politicians, they don't care, and big business, they don't care. It's all about the money. That's what I believe.
Well, I don't ever think that the oil and gas companies will ever support Biden based on what his intent was. I understand your position.
Hold on, can I pause you for a second? I would be willing to bet you, like a legit bet, I'm not rich, a $10 bet that if Biden runs again, he's gonna get campaign contributions from oil companies. I would be willing to bet you $10 that that's gonna happen.
Okay.
It's a bet?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I got 10 on it.
All right.
I got 10 on it. And if oil companies, the same CEOs, contribute to his campaign, I would have to say that. Now, are we talking about drilling petroleum companies, or are we just talking about energy companies? Because that's different.
No, petroleum.
Okay. That's a bet.
All right.
That's a bet. And that's my time, bro. I gotta go. I hear people in the house coming in, and my wife is gonna kill me because that grill is not hot yet.
Bro, go fire up that fake grill and make some gas ribs.
Gas ribs?
It's a gas grill. You're gonna throw some ribs on there, right?
My sister-in-law, I believe, already brought the ribs in, so those are gonna be charcoal. So, hey, I appreciate y'all having me today.
Wyatt gotta go. Look, we appreciate y'all from the bottom of our heart, because really, neither of one of us, if I can talk, neither one of us really thought there'd be many people checking us out. We thought we was just gonna have this conversation between the two of us for the most part. So we do appreciate y'all hanging out with us.
Appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate all of the family. Thank you, E, for having me again. And I love the fact that we can have dialect. That's the whole part. And maybe we'll do this again next Monday. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. You're out of town.
That's right. I'm out of town next Monday. I'm out of town.
All right. Well, maybe I'll do, Wyatt-Live Monday evening at 5:00 instead of, the King and I'll do the best I can. So, let's see if we can get something going. Hey, I appreciate you guys for having us in your homes or your living rooms or wherever the hell you are, at the pool, wherever you are. Appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate all the criticisms. Great call from your caller, Brian. I really appreciate the fact that people can, he was on his circle, very articulate, and he brought it. But when you're going up against a factual speaker, man, I'm only kidding, guys. But I appreciate everybody for having us, man. Thank you for allowing us to come in your home. Thank you.
All right.
This is us. We out. King and I, baby. Hey, like and share this. Send it to some folks, man. We'll be back again. A holla. All right, E, I'll talk to you, bro.